Wah! Yippee! It's a Saturday morning, Cubs. Happy Saturday! Hello, hello. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? My tummy hurts a little bit, but I think I'll be fine. I should be fine. I also set the slideshow, the art slideshow, to random. It used to be in alphabetical order, but I was like, what if we mix it up a little bit? What if we change things up a little bit? But hello, how you guys doing? Long time no see. It's only been, what, a little over 12 hours or something. How you guys doing? I'm pretty excited to make some stamps today. It is technically for work, but I've been enjoying making stamps. I haven't made any since last week. Just because I've been not too busy, but I've just been like tired, like when I get home from work. Because last week I had like all virtual classes, so like, and I had a lot of downtime, so I could just do that. But this time I'm back at the office, back doing things. Burp. Excuse me. I like downed a whole bunch of like Earl Grey, like milky Earl Grey. I'm a little burpy, just a little bit, just a little bit. But let's see who we got here, and then we'll get to class. We got Saribot, our Rock. We got Seishun. You got your sticker. Folky, you got your sticker too. Nice, 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 nice. Let us get to class, shall we? Because I also want to do my dailies, my regulars, you know? Do I have my tracking? I do have my tracking. Okay. Maharani! I'm listening to Alamat again. Oh, you can see! You can see things moving around if I breathe too much. If I laugh too much, you could see the papers here moving. Oh, and thank you for the— oh my gosh, 25 stream streak. Thank you, thank you! You summon the cats. You pet the cats. 25 stream streak. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I was watching the streamer named Malfina. She's part of Socks Agency, and every time she says stream streak, she says stream streak. Like, I can't roll my R's, but she says it like a certain way. It's like stuck in my head. But hello everyone, hello, it's me, Babinka Bear, your local Sun Bear art history teacher and educational streamer. And today we're making some— we have the paw cam on with my flesh gloves. And we're going to be carving out some stamps. We did this last week as well. We made a Binka stamp, right? This is how it was supposed to look, and then this is how it came out. So there are some differences. I was able to like refine it a little bit more after stream last week, and the stamp came out pretty decent. It still kind of looks like my eyes are going in two different directions, but like it's not too much of a big deal, really. I'm also missing an eyelid on this one. One option is that I could remake the stamp, but I kind of like the imperfection. I kind of like the derpiness of it. So we might just keep it that way. We might just keep it that way, and then at Offkai, or whenever I like run into people IRL, you get a little stamp. You get a little stamp, and maybe a sticker if I'm able to make that happen. Because I do have a cricket that's not a cricket. It's a silhouette. It's a silhouette machine. I just got like new blades for it and everything, and I think I have all the parts for it, so I could make stickers. I could make stickers for the next time I meet up with people, but maybe I should put that on my to-do list. I've been trying to, you know, as I was mentioning yesterday, make less use of my phone and do like analog stuff. Wait, let me just cover that part right there. I've been using like a notepad. I'm using this like field notes thingy. So I've been trying to like do more physical notes nowadays rather than like— because I always use my notes app, right? But you know, I'm trying to reduce my screen time overall. So what did I say I was gonna do? Stickers, like IRL stickers. I was talking about it with Beans today when we were going out for a walk. IRL stickers. And one of the things that I would want to about like going a little bit more analog with my life and like just using my phone less is I already uninstalled all my social media, but I still have them on browser. But I just want like to unfrick my brain, you know? Like I just want to because one of the videos that I was talking about yesterday about like the guy who kind of like gave up his phone for a month, he said that his like concentration was better focus was better, and it's like I kind of want that. I would like to have good focus once more. I would like to not forget my train of thought and or like what vocab word I'm looking for in the middle of a sentence, you know? Because I feel like I do that a lot. That might be some kind of undiagnosed ADHD, but it might have also been exacerbated by, you know, like the scrolling, the social media. As our mom said, it's because we're on the phone all the time, right? That's why you're sick. It's because you're on the phone all the time. Okay, maybe that one's a little bit of a reach, but you know, I think we finally realized that, like, oh, maybe our parents were onto something. So yeah, I'm just trying to get like better concentration, better train of thought, to the point where I'm not like forgetting things mid-sentence. And yeah, I'm trying to like put more reminders on my physical notepad with the intent of actually doing them. Because I also, if I'm not using my notes app, I use Discord. I use like a private Discord server to write reminders to myself, and occasionally it does work. It's funny because I was looking at my Discord. Sometimes like I write down reminders like on my phone, and I'm like kind of half asleep, and I had an idea for a redeem. I kind of don't want to like I don't want to spoil it for you, but just know that it's like massively misspelled on my Discord. They try to think of an example. It's like if my idea was like talking pancakes, then I spelled it like talking pancakes. But yeah, so I'm just trying to make more use of like notepads, stuff like that. Harpsichord Enjoyer, hello! You got your sticker. With that said, we have some physical art making that we can be doing. Before we do that though, oh yeah, I should probably introduce you guys to the glyphs that we'll be doing today before we do our dailies. Actually, this should be reversed. So actually there's, like I mentioned before, I'm making these stamps for work. We're trying to incorporate like Maya stamps into one of our curricula. And we actually have like a huge list of Maya glyphs. I think this might be a longer project. It might even take like the whole year. And if so, that's okay. But just to show you the amount of glyphs that we want to try and make stamps for, here's quite a couple. There's already like 5 here on the page. These are all colors, by the way, so we're just gonna start with colors. We might not even get to all 5 today. We might just do like 1 or 2. But we'll see. Yeah, like, as you can see, there's a lot of glyphs to get through. And it's not even just me that's doing it. We are also going to split the work amongst our part-time team as well. But it's a lot. But at the same time, like, I'm kind of down to make a lot of them because this process is just fun in general. But the sheer volume of them does have me a little nervous. Does have me a little like, ooh, this is kind of a lot. But the good thing is that there isn't really a strict hard deadline. It's just more of like when we can incorporate this. So yeah. Let's see. How should I do this? I kind of want to do time guesser right now just to get it out of the way. And then we'll start our carving. Alright, so let's do that. And then I did also drink a lot of water, and also a lot of Earl Grey earlier today, so I might feel nature's call once in a while. But let's go ahead and do our daily, shall we? Because we just did the food guesser one last night, and it doesn't reset till like 4 p.m. PST. Oh my gosh, daylight savings is tonight. But because it doesn't reset, we're just gonna do time guesser. No food guesser today. No food guesser. We could do cuddle though. We could do cuddle on stream. I know who that is. This is Filipino President Cory Aquino. And she was president during the the 80s? I forgot the exact year, but I know exactly who that is. I recognize her face. So this might even be in, where is Malacanang? No, I don't think this is Malacanang. Oh, it even says it here, Cory Aquino. We'll just put it down like here in Manila. When was the People Power Revolution? Okay, so a little bit of Filipino history. A couple decades back, I want to say in like the 80s, there was a dictator. That was not an enthusiastic I know her. Okay, well, like, it's kind of the same with, in the wider scope of Philippine politics, like, a lot of politicians are corrupt. It's just that she wasn't as corrupt as the dictator that she replaced. So it's kind of with like US history where it's like every president has done a war crime. It's just like to what extent, and like there's gonna be some war crimes in there. Yeah, well, basically she is the mother to she was wife to one politician named Aquino. Ninoy Aquino, I believe, and he was Ninoy Aquino Jr. And she is the mother to the next Ninoy Aquino, who I believe was his name Noy Noy, or his nickname was Noy Noy. I think he was Benino Aquino. Here, the name is Benino Aquino. Junior was her husband, and then her son is Benino Aquino the third, but his nickname was Noy Noy. Because Filipino nicknames just be like that. So there's Ninoy, there's Noy Noy. And he was like the president before Duterte. But she was like, in the wider scheme of things, she was like a little bit better. She was, well, actually for a lot of Filipinos, she was a lot better. She was a lot better than the person who came before her, which is Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos. So he was kind of seen as like a dictator. Because he put the Philippines in martial law. Duterte, I know, because the guy was effing insane. You know what's interesting? Okay, we're gonna like we're flipping around a lot with Filipino politics. He just wanted to kill everyone. So when he first became president, he actually had a lot of support among leftist groups and socialist like student organizations. And I mentioned before that I was part of like a socialist like student group when I was in college. So we actually like supported him when he was first elected, and it was kind of like it wasn't like he wasn't already committing murders by that point, but he was well liked because he was seen as like not under the thumb of the American government. Like a big thing with Filipino politics is that because we were colonized by America from 1989 to about 1945, the end of World War II, a lot of the politics is like informed by American politics, but also ultimately also like a lot of politicians are in the pockets of American politics. So, you know, our relationship is very close to the US. They modeled a lot of their government after the US, but then of course that means that there's also a lot of corruption and a lot of like shady dealings and stuff like that. So at times, a lot of the presidents will kind of prioritize the wants and needs of America's politics and wants over the needs of the Filipino people that they're supposed to be working towards. Oh no, I'm getting a little too political here, but that's kind of like the big thing. Like just like with every US president has done a war crime, every Filipino president has in some way, shape, or form put the needs of like their American overlords over the needs of the Filipino people. It's just to what extent, you know? It's just to what extent. And arguably, like, Cory Aquino was, like, more so on the side of, like, the Filipinos, but she also does come from, like, this dynasty family. Yeah, so, like, names like the Aquinos and the Marcoses, they're kind of, like, these big dynastic families. Lots of nepotism, I'll say it that way. But the person that came before her was Marcos, and Marcos was a dictator who like not instilled, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like he activated martial law because of the fear of like communist insurgent groups. When in reality, or at least the way that it was taught to me, remember my bias is towards the left because I was part of a socialist student org. Like the way that I was taught is that like it was more so fear of any uprising against him, right? So I think this happened around the time where his opponent, Benigno Aquino II, or Benigno Aquino Jr., also known as Ninoy Aquino, was shot and assassinated. So because like his opponent was assassinated, he took that as all right, it's time for martial law. We can't trust y'all with nothing, you know? Even though like there is some conspiracies and some like something saying that like it was Marcos himself who organized the murder, right? So yeah, this is Dove Beetle. Hello. This is more so what I was taught. Once again, I am biased. There's no such thing as like a historical take that's not just straight up biased, right? So my dad is such a Bongbong Marcos stan because he's from Ilocos, dude. That's how I feel. My mom's family is from Davao. and that's where Duterte's from. So they're like Duterte stans. So yeah. And Bongbong Marcos, okay, so like once again, so Marcos was known as this dictator, and like a lot of older Filipinos will say that like, oh, things were peaceful during Marcos's time, right? Because like he stamped out crime. It's very similar to the kind of rhetoric you hear about Duterte, where it's like, oh yeah, he's killing people, but like the streets are safe, the streets are clean, the streets are safe, you know. And you Westerners need to keep your noses out of it, you know, because you guys don't understand. And in some ways, correct, you know, in some ways, like because the Philippines has this like historical collective trauma of being under the thumb of like colonizers of the West, there is the sentiment of like, you guys need to keep your nose out of it. Like this is kind of like our thing. But there is also the nuance of like, yeah, but he's killing people. And a lot of the people that he's killing that are being accused of being drug dealers or that are accused of being insurgents, they might not always be as guilty as they're made out to be. So there is a bit of nuance to this. But and it's funny because I didn't say any names there because it could apply to Marcos, it could also apply to Duterte, because there were killings happening under Marcos's regime, and a lot of people will say like, oh, it was safer, but the thing is their families weren't affected by these extrajudicial killings, and stuff like that. So like the people who were affected by it, like those are the people that are speaking up being like, no, yeah, Marcos was a dictator, he was a dictator. And if you felt comfortable during this time period, it's because you were in a position of privilege. It's because you were probably like, you weren't affected by these killings. Taz Boreal, hello. You just start disappearing political opponents and certain minorities, the line is very thin. Exactly. So like, and it's funny because like even within my own family, both my parents are a bit more left leaning. My dad is a little bit too attached to the like label of being a Democrat though, because he doesn't like any critique against Democrats. And I'm like, look, I'm more left leaning, but like you gotta notice, Dad, that like sometimes like it's the Democrats that aren't really doing anything. Anyway, both my parents are more left-leaning, but like it's like my extended family and stuff that are very like, they don't like any critique about Marcos, they don't like any critique about Duterte, stuff like that. It was peaceful, but you were living in the countryside farms and not in Metro Manila. Exactly, Dove Beetle, exactly. So eventually Marcos, the older Marcos, not the current Marcos, was eventually there were protests against him. This was the People Power movement of the, I believe it was the late 80s. I think it was like 86 or 87. And this was like it was a bunch of people protesting on what was called EDSA, which is the what does EDSA actually stand for? It was like Avenue of Andres Bonifacio, right? It's like a freeway, basically. It's like a highway, and a bunch of people were like protesting there. And it was so big that even my dad was there. But it's funny because like he says like, oh yeah, I was there on the streets, but he wasn't really protesting. He just kind of happened upon, like, well, not happened upon. I think he heard from his friends that the protests were happening, and they were just like, oh, let's go check it out. let's go see what that's all about. Because it's like, you know, in your city. So he was there. He was present. He was present at the protest, but not necessarily himself protesting. Meanwhile, I think this was about the time that my mom actually fled the Philippines. And she never really made it clear why. Like, of course, a lot of Filipinos want to go to the US because they're instilled with this idea of like, oh, it's the land of opportunity. That's like, you know, that's where you're going to be really successful. That's where you want to go. The goal is to go to America instead of finding peace and, you know, affluence in the Philippines, in the homeland. But this is around the time that my mom's family left, but my dad's family was still there. Or I think he himself was there. But some of his siblings have already started to go to America. But the way that I asked my mom, I was like, oh, why was it around this time that you guys were fleeing? And she was like, there was a little bit of unrest. So yeah, all that to say that I recognize this is Cory Aquino, and this is the wife of the senator, the opponent to Marcos, who got killed. So once Marcos was taken down as dictator, she took over as the president, and she was seen as this like kind of like herald for like the new not regime, but just like the new way of life, the new like politics, because like I think she wasn't the first, right? She wasn't the first female president, because I think there's been two female presidents of the Philippines. There's Cory Aquino, and then there's I forgot her name. That was like the most recent one. But it's funny because Gloria Macapagal, right? You're right. Thank you. Gloria Macapagal. And I think Cory Aquino was the one who passed away. Yeah, Macapagal Arroyo. Yes, exactly. Something like that, yeah. Bear, hello. Where we started playing Time Guesser, and it went into like a mini history lesson about Filipino politics. But this is Cory Aquino, so if she's campaigning or she's president, then this is probably the late 80s. But yeah, I recognize her face. Just sliding into class a bit late. No worries. I'm really good at making my friends tangent. I like that. I appreciate that. Twisty, hello. But yeah, it was an interesting time, and like I said, I know that this is around the time that my dad was still in the Philippines and my mom had already come to America. So late 80s. It could be 86, it could be 87, or it could be another time period entirely. Philippines having 2 female presidents, and America still hasn't had one, and both times a female candidate ran, they were defeated by a fascist. Like, isn't that interesting? We're so surreal now. We're so surreal. The bite of 86. Is that the guy in the background wearing a shirt that says Cory? I don't know who that might be actually, but I think by this point her son was already... I actually don't know how old Bong Bong is, right? That's also a fun thing with Filipino culture is our nicknames. Our nicknames are usually just repetitions. So like, if you're like me, Babinka, my nickname would be Bibi. Or a syllable that doesn't make sense. So, Kaka. Which should be fun for the Spanish speakers. Like, for example, I have a cousin whose name is... I'm just gonna like make it up, but her name was like Alexa, and her nickname was Lek Lek. Not like a syllable you would expect, you know? Bong Bong. Yeah, his name is Bong Bong Marcos. Isn't Bong Bong the mascot from Peak? Do you know he's also the son of a dictator? It doesn't Dumb Beetle have that as like the icon too? It's Bing Bong! It's Bing Bong! Oh, world unrelated. That was out of left field and made me choke on my water, caca. It's funny because like we're gonna be carving stamps made out of Maya glyphs today, and during our lesson sometimes we teach kids about the glyph for cacao, and it's made by the repetition of the ka symbol. So we always have to say like, oh, the like Maya name for cacao is cacao or cacawa, you know. But the students always laugh when we have to say like, oh, repeating the syllable caca. Like, Bing Bong Marcos. Dang, who knew that Bing Bong was a freaking dictator? Or son of a dictator. He himself might also be a dictator. Anyway, let's try to lock it down. Let's do 80s, late 80s Philippines. 1 year off. Oh, and it wasn't in Manila. It was in Dagupan City. Opposition President candidate Corazon Aquino and her running mate Salvador Laurel flashing L hand signs for the Filipino word laban during a presidential campaign motorcade in Dagupan City, Philippines. So location-wise, we could have been a little bit closer, but we were only a year off. So very nice. Get a chuckle out of anyone. Quezon City. Yeah, there's that's named after one of our presidents, Manuel Quezon. A lot of places in the Philippines are like named after presidents. Laban. Okay, so next one. Keep the cable cars. Vote yes on M. Ah, so some kind of... Oh my gosh, look at all the hands. M is for me. cable car. Oh, San Fran. So this is San Fran. The question is when, right? Let's take a look at the fashion. Fashion looks like, I want to say 60s. What did we say about female fashion again when we were doing our decade study? Oh, our decade study yesterday. Female fashion. Oh, they had the hourglass silhouette. This doesn't really look like hourglass silhouette. It's a little bit more straight silhouette. So, oh my gosh, what's going on with this kid? Bro really loves M. Bro really loves cable cars, right? Jeez. It made me think of requesón, which is cottage cheese. Ah, okay. He's seeing God. He's seeing God. He's like, oh my god, God's in the cable car. So this feels like it might be 60s, maybe even 70s. We haven't studied that decade yet. So, oh, we're not seeing any cars because they're all about the cable cars, right? So, oh wow. Wow, you can see like the whole rest of the city here. That's so cool. What is this? Broadway and Broderick? Can we find those streets? I actually don't know the streets in NorCal, if I'm being honest. I'm just gonna put it on tier and hope for the best. Hope for the best. So let's say we haven't studied the 60s and 70s yet, but I do want to say let's do like 63. 49. Oh, we were off. Dang. Oh, this is the 40s. We were just looking at the 50s. So maybe not everywhere was where did they want that hourglass silhouette, right? But okay, but it was actually in San Francisco. Very good. Very good. Oh, this is Shibuya, right? What kind of phone? What kind of phone? This looks pretty modern, right? Amerly, hello. Hello, hello. Glockenspiel, hello. Pretty photo, right? This is Shibuya Crossing, right? So I think... Can I find Shibuya Crossing? I think it's on like the left side on Tokyo, right? Shibuya roll call. My name is Binka. Yeah. That is my name. Yeah. They call me Binka. Yeah, cause that's my name. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Shibuya Crossing. Bubinka roll call. So maybe that looks like a pretty sizable phone, right? Oh, but the thing is, Japanese technology is always like a little bit ahead of everybody else. But it still look. Oh, the selfie stick though. The selfie stick. Maybe that's 2010s, right? It still could be 2020s. The school outfits are so timeless, yeah. Howdy howdy. It's because SF is full of liberals. Even from like the very beginning, right? Even from the very beginning. Yeah, women not wanting the hourglass. They wanted the pants. I do like pants. The cable car museum in SF is really cool for an hour or two. And it's free! Ooh. Maybe when we go to San Jose in a couple months. Remember, Japan was slow to adopt smartphones over flip phones, so smartphone presence actually places it later. I think it's a little blurry for 2020s. I know, part of me, because of the selfie stick for me, I feel like that is like, oh, what about these posters over here? I can't really read them. That also makes me want to say 2010s, but like late 2010s, right? The high-waisted jeans and crop top is giving 2010s. Where is the crop top? Bro looks like a Tito too. Bro looks like a Filipino tourist for some reason. I think that itself a cell phone pic from the edge distortion. Let's say 2010s. Let's say 2018 Shibuya Crossing. Oh, it was the 2020s. It was 2023. But we were right on the location, so. But it was also the selfie stick for me. Because I was like, I feel like peak selfie stick was the 2010s, but like it still is probably still being used. All right, we got round 4. This looks like I can't tell. This text over here, this looks Latin, right? Because I thought for a while that it was like Cyrillic, but I do think this is Latin. Niles looks like it's in Latin too. What does it say? Automatisiert? That kind of gives me Dutch vibes, right? Aswang. Kasse? Or it could be German. I keep on like mixing up Dutch and German. Even I think they're both. Well, obviously German is a Germanic language, but Dutch is also Germanic, right? Kasse? It looks like it's Matisiert? Yeah, what Bear kind of put, right? Which, like, to me, that almost reads as Dutch, but it might also be German. The Kasse also makes me think that this is... No, if it was German, they wouldn't have the double S, right? They would have that one letter that looks like S, but isn't that cheese? Or am I just craving cheese? Oh, I'm always craving cheese. Specifically 64 slices of American cheese. Oh, not always. Okay. Fair point. It's the cheese! Something about this guy's hair makes me think 70s, right? Doesn't this look very like Beatles, right? That's exactly what I was thinking about, Folk. I was thinking about that B-looking letter, which is actually like the S, right? Isn't it like a double S sound? Craft specifically. 70s? Yeah, I'm thinking 70s. And the question is, German-speaking country or Dutch? My gut is telling me Dutch. Is there anything else that can, like, give us a hint? The glasses look like that serial killer that ate people. Dahmer, yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer. Sunglasses too, kind of disco funky almost. So maybe it's late 70s, right? Because like something I always notice is that like the styles that we associate with a certain decade usually come about in the latter half of the decade. The earlier half of the decade is usually still kind of like following the styles of the previous decade. So if you see something that looks very 70s, it's probably 75 to like early 80s. Because early 70s are going to be more so like 60s, you know? There's like kind of a lag. It's only like till the mid decade where like a style really crystallizes. Never realized that, right? And of course there's always exceptions, but let's go with Amsterdam. Let's go with Amsterdam in the 70s. Let's see if we are close. Nice. Okay, so it's not it was German. It was Berlin. It was German. That's okay though. Subculture takes time to move to main culture and whatnot. Yeah. Pretty close on the year. Yeah, we've been getting closer and closer with years, and I feel like the more we do our little decade studies, the better we're gonna get, right? For those that weren't here yesterday, we did the 50s yesterday, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see things like the architecture, the Googie architecture, stuff like that. So that means 2 weeks from now, we're going to be doing the 60s. This means that the 2020 style is starting to be defined right now, exactly. Like, they're taking, people are taking lead from, like, the previous years, of course. So I think the 2020 style is more so comfort-based, and that's because we're coming right out of the pandemic. Or not right out of it, but you know what I mean? I do feel like the pandemic kind of, like, influenced a lot of aspects of life, which includes fashion. And I think of always like school kids going to school in like their pajamas, which isn't a 2020s thing. That's been a thing since like arguably like 2010s, 2000s even, but I feel like it's more noticeable nowadays of just like pajamas. Like, you know, your comfy like pajamas are your school wear. The youngins are copying goth emo things, which were pajama based. Exactly. Okay, so it says here metropolitan. No, metropolitane. Metropolitain. That makes me think French. Oh, is there a date? And sometimes the photos just like straight up have a date on them, but I don't what is this? I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. It's very windy today, so the pollen be flying around. So this looks like military uniform, but there's also carriages. No, wait. I don't see any horses. Are these like old cars? Oh no, the thing is these are all facing away from us. I don't see any horses. I don't see any horses, so this might be early cars. Wait, no. There's a horse over here. I'm just not seeing any like here, like right in front of these vehicles. Wow, look at this guy freaking serving in the background over here. Let's see. I get old man yells like Clouds vibes about pajamas in public, but I'm not going out of my way about it. I feel like that's been a thing. Well, what was I wearing in high school? I was wearing like skinny jeans. So I feel like that's like what, 2010s or I graduated high school in 2009, so like around like 2010s is when I started seeing like pajamas at schools. I'm kind of whatever about it. Like if that like helps facilitate kids feeling comfortable in their learning space, why not? But I could see why that would cause distaste to people. Pollen be pollinating. Horseless carriages? Witchcraft. I feel like hats are important, but I'm too dumb to notice military hats. His pose. Yeah, we as we're doing our decade studies, we're noticing that like hats are like a good way to tell a certain time period, especially because like up until the 1950s, men were just always wearing suits, and unless you can notice like the minute details between like, oh, this is like a straight bottom versus like a curved bottom, you know, unless you can notice those things, like hats are kind of like the better giveaway. But not always, because like things like the flat caps. I'm trying to find an example of like the flat caps. Here, like these flat caps, these could go anywhere from like the 20s or like the 10s up until like the 40s, you know. So yeah, the hats are usually like a good giveaway. For me, it's the cars or the vehicles. Once again, like I'm not seeing any horses, but the fact that they could be mistaken for carriages make me think that this is like early 1900s. Because 1890s, it was very much just like a horseless carriage. But this only goes up to 1900. So I am thinking 1900, but there are military uniforms. It could be World War One, which would put us into the 1910s. But that's also late 1910s, and by that point, cars don't look like horseless carriages anymore. So this is interesting. I am thinking maybe France because of how metropolitan is spelled over here. So we could do Paris. But I'm gonna have to do I'm gonna have to look into my car studies to see a time period. But let me catch up on chat first. There's been a long period of overlap with cars and horses that progress unevenly depending on where in the world. Yeah. That dude is more Churchill than Churchill. I only wore skinny jeans when I was in school. Now I barely wear pants. Same, Beetle, same. I was a skinny jeans kind of gal, you know, or shorts. I wore like jean shorts a lot of the time. Chapeau, le chapeau. Curved bottoms, curved bottoms. Glockenspiel said World War One. The dude next to the guy with the trench coat stared into my soul. Bowler cap guy is styling, right? I like this guy over here. I like his style, and bro that's like serving over here, you know? He kind of looks, doesn't he look like TR? He looks like Theodore Roosevelt. What if he is? What if he is? So World War One, but I want to let me show you guys something. I just have to get my notebook out. So, alongside my decade studies, I've also been doing these like card drawing studies. And I try to do like a decade, basically a week. So this is the 1880s going into the 1900s. Huh. So by the 1890s, they still kind of look like horseless carriages, and it's at the 1900s where they start to look a little bit more like cars. By the 1910s, let's see. It's like the kind of cars where you have to like crank the wheel or crank like you have to like do a crank thing at the like here in order to make the car run. And then by the like late 1910s, when World War I would have happened, they basically, oh no, I hate the auto zoom or autofocus. Stop it. Stop it. There we go. So by the late 1910s, when World War I would have been happening, the cars kind of look like this. But the thing is, this would have been like a luxury car. So this could be World War I, or it could be, I'm trying to think of like, what was the war before World War I? It wasn't Napoleonic, right? Because that was like, it was in the like 19th century, but not quite the last one before World War I. I want to say like maybe the Crimean War? The drawings are cool, thank you. What's the difference between a horseless carriage and a car? Well, like the cars look like horseless carriages, basically. The seats look comfy, right? Imagine being in a picture and getting noticed or roasted 100 years later. Model T looks pretty carriage-like. It does, so that's why I'm like, Okay, I haven't done a Google search for, oh, let me put this away. I haven't done, I always allowed myself one Google search per, like, time guesser guess. But I haven't done it in a while, but let's do it just this once. Because I want to see the dates for the Crimean War. Because I feel like if it's 1890s, that might be our best bet. Like, maybe early 1900s. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Ah, no, this is 1850s to 18 it was during the 1850s, so this is not from the Crimean War. Let's say, dang, the military uniforms do make me think of World War I. But it's like the oh look, Le Chantier Duvray. I think maybe it is 1900s. Let's say 1905. 1905 Paris, right? Douvre. Douvre. 1905? Oh, it was 1919 and it was World War I. I shouldn't have doubted you guys. Soldiers from American Expeditionary Forces sent to Europe during World War I, standing outside Gare de Lyon in Paris. The station served as a primary transit point for troops during the demobilization and return to homeland following the armistice in November 1918. These guys have a kind of fresh face, haven't seen the end of World War I look. Ah, true. But it was Paris, so we at least got the location right. And we're...
Hello class, here's some interesting car history I learned recently.
Tell us more.
Carter, who was a friend of Henry Leland who founded Cadillac. Carter helped a female motorist restart her car with a crank start. It spun too fast and hit him in the face and broke his jaw.
What?
He died later in the year from the injury, and that's why Cadillac developed the electric starter.
Oh my gosh! Thanks for the information, Mr. Pancakes. He's so knowledgeable, this one. It spun too fast and hit him in the face and broke his jaw. Oh no. Dang. It's a fun fact indeed. Thank you, Mr. Pancakes. Thank you, Owen. Let's go ahead and share this result with our Discord. Paste. There we go. Good invention, but F reason. Thank you, Mr. Pancakes. I know, right? He's so smart, this one. But okay, so we did... Oh, no, I didn't mean to hide that. I meant to show this. There we go. The more you know with the little star, right? Let me see if I can fix the focus, because I turned off autofocus, now it's just not focused at all. So, oh, there we go. Oh, that's actually really nicely focused. Sorry for cussing. You guys can cuss. You guys can cuss. I will not say it out loud, but you guys can cuss. And it's not because of any moral reason that I don't cuss. I just think it's funny and like fits the school theme. And I think it was Shinri who said this from Hollow Stars. He said that if you regularly don't cuss, then it's both funnier and makes more of an impact when you do, right? Like, can you imagine one of these days it's like, I've fucking had it. Like, oh god. My laughter. It blew away the paper. No, I keep on doing it. I gotta stop laughing in front of the papers. You scared the paper. I scared the paper. Teacher let us curse in the classroom. Yeah, you guys can curse, but I will hold off just because it will be funny when I do curse. These freaking SOBs. Okay, so here we have some Maya glyphs ready to be carved. I kind of want to start with this really simple one, but I'll tell you what each one of them is. I'll try to go off memory, but I do also have a cheat sheet next to me. I do have a little cheat sheet of glyphs. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. But these are all colors. Abstaining for the bit, exactly. Yeah, so never feel like you guys can't cuss and that I can't because of any moralistic reason. I don't have morals. Bears don't have that. This is cool. I don't know any of these. Yeah, I'm trying to learn Maya glyphs, both for work, but also just for general enrichment. Darn right. So these are all colors, but I do have like a collection of more, such as cardinal directions, nouns, animals. The animals are going to be pretty hard to carve. I actually do have a couple that I've already done like test runs on. This is a cool one. This is the glyph for bat. So I did it in like two styles. One is like where you just carve out the line, and this one where you carve out everything but the line. So yeah, it's a glyph for bat. I forgot how it's pronounced. Wait, let me look at my cheat sheet real quick. Because this cheat sheet has both the glyph in English, Spanish, and Maya. I just don't know which Maya language, because there's different ones. There's Quiche Maya, there's Yucatec Maya. So, bat is where's bat? Oh, here. Suutz. S-U-U-T-Z. And in English it's bat, and in Spanish it's oh, I might need help with pronouncing this. Murcielago? Murcielago? Oh, and in Nahuatl it's Tinancatli? Tinancatli? Tinancatli. Ooh, I would love to like know the Nahuatl equivalent to it. Cielago. Murcielago? Cielago. Thank you. When I'm teaching a class, because sometimes I'm helping with the classes, and we get more a. Murcielago. When I get classes that are predominantly like Spanish speaking, and I'm not fluent in Spanish, even though I do understand a little bit just from like growing up in Los Pincos, I like to one of the ways that I like to engage with them is to ask them like como se dice like this in Spanish, like como se dice like rabbit in español, and they'll like tell me like oh conejo. And it's fun for both of us because I get to learn and they get to like feel like they're there's a good way. Yeah. Or that's a good way. Yeah, I like it because like I remember one time we went to a school where the school had a Chinese program. And you didn't have to be Chinese to take the Chinese class, but it was cool to see like students that are like Hispanic, for example, but they were like semi-fluent in Mandarin Chinese. And I asked the student like I think about tones, like the 5 tones in Chinese. And they were teaching it to me, and then the student next to them was like, wait, but you're the teacher. Aren't you supposed to know this stuff? Like, why is the student teaching you? And I was like, teachers are also learning, and students can teach things to teachers too. So that was just a funny moment where it's like, no, you did. Just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean I know everything. I don't know Chinese. Okay, how are we gonna do this? Oh yeah, I was gonna introduce these glyphs to you. Cute and awesome, right? Teachers know all. That's right. I know every language. I know every equation. I know every historical fact ever. Go ahead. Ask me anything. Oh no! I keep laughing the papers away. I keep laughing the papers away. Okay, so these are colors. That's a big concept to teach kids, though. I thought my parents knew everything, and it really shattered my world when I started to realize they didn't have all the answers. Yeah, exactly. And I like doubling up on this concept that not only do teachers not always know everything, but students can also teach teachers. Because, like, I was really excited for that student to teach me Chinese tones. Because they were teaching me, like, oh, there's, like, the upward one, the downward one, the, like, up and then down, and then the, like, straight one, and then the, like, no tone. It was cool. It was really cool. Your pronunciation of Nawat was really good. Thanks! I'm trying to improve on that because, like I said, one of the programs I teach focuses on Maya and, like, not as much on Aztec stuff, but because, like, when people discuss, like, Maya culture, it's always, like, linked to Aztec, even though they're kind of miles apart. They did trade with each other, though, but, like, those are two different languages, two different regions, etc., but they're always kind of, like, mentioned in the same breath, especially when it comes to, like, public education, general education around that. Reminds me of a post I saw earlier. Kid, do dragons fart fire? Parent, I don't know. Kid, I thought you went to college. Someone slept during Draco Gastronomy 201. There's a cool, one of my colleagues have like I wasn't able to yank it for myself, but they have like a little card set with different like glyphs, and it has the word in Spanish, Nahuatl, and Maya. No English, but that was good because I was like, oh, I need to learn Spanish anyway. But okay, these are colors, and what's really interesting is that there was an exhibit at the LA County Museum of Art that I thought was really cool. It was about colors in Mesoamerica and how like there's a lot of associations that we make with colors, such as like red being like the color of passion and fire and blood and all these things. And yellow being like the color of like happiness and stuff. And a lot of them are kind of like Western ideas, and sometimes it is shared in other cultures, but not always. So I learned that when it comes to colors, first of all, not every color is named in a different language. So for example, in like Japan, for a very long time, green and blue were essentially the same color, or they were seen as the same color with the same name. And it wasn't until later on that they started to like kind of separate the two colors into their own individual names. It's kind of like, even in our own culture, what say is the difference between, for example, these two colors, right? They're both red, right? But one of them is more of like a brick red, and one of them is more of like a, what is that, like a pink red or something like that. So it's kind of the same thing where like one culture might see these as two very distinct separate colors, but like for a lot of other people, it's just like, oh, they're both red, you know, they're both red. So it's kind of the same with like blue and green in many cultures. Sometimes they're seen as the same shade, but just different shades of like the same thing. So that's why for this one is, let me look at my cheat sheet. I think it's Yash. Yeah, this glyph is called Yash, Y-A-X, and it's for green blue. So not just green, not just blue, but green blue. Although they did, especially the Maya, they did separate the concept of, like, they knew the difference between, like, say, like a sky blue versus, like, a jade green. But they just considered it kind of, like, the same color. Just different shades of it. If that makes sense, right? We love colors. I'm not related to Aztec, but the tribe speaks Nahuatl. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing, is that like I'm still trying to unlearn that whole connection of like, oh, Aztec equals Nahuatl, right? Because Aztec is actually the Triple Alliance, right? So there's different cultures even within like the Aztec Empire. And then there's also folks that weren't Aztec that speak Nahuatl, right? The way language shapes color perception is really fascinating. It is, right? I see brown. Be on the lookout for maroon studs and bearcat. That was more of a burgundy. keep on laughing too much and scaring the paper. That makes me think of my psych paper. My professor made us read calls "My red isn't your red." Yeah, right? Like, how do you know that, like, the red that I'm seeing is the same as the red that you're seeing? What if the red I see is more like the yellow that I see? But for you, you grew up, like, knowing that color as red, right? So it's interesting, and it's interesting. So we do have an ad break coming up, but really quickly, this is red. Hold on, let me look at my cheat sheet. This is Chuck, which is red. This is Kan, which is yellow. I might start with this one because it's nice and simple. This is Yash, Y-A-X, for blue-green. This is no, this is black. Eek. This is black. And this is white. Suck. So we'll start with Kan because it's a little bit easier. And then when we come back, I'll tell you guys all about Mesoamerican color. Because it's interesting. It's interesting. Chuck equals red. Got it. You got it. White suck. Cool. You guys are learning. You guys are learning. Alright. Ad break's gonna start soon. I'll see you guys in about 3 minutes. Okay, we're back. We're back. The breaks have started to feel very short lately, but it's mostly because I end up starting to do things during my breaks. I used to just kind of sit here and like go through Discord, but decided to use the bathroom, and I want to start doing the thing that Sklimbo does, where he does squats during breaks. You know what? What's stopping me from doing it right now? You guys ready? Oh god, what am I doing? I'm gonna move my chair. Since I didn't do it during this last break, let's do it to get. Oh my god. Just move my chair. Okay. You guys ready? You guys. Oh, the tracking makes it look like exercise is good? Okay, you guys ready for doing 5 squats? Alright. I'm just gonna do like 5. I'm just gonna do 5. Ready? Oh wait, I actually don't have enough room to. Oh, I'm hitting the mic. Like I'm hitting the mic. I need to. Okay, ready? And go. 1. Oh, I need to do my breathing. 2. 3. 4. One more, guys. One more. Alright, 5 squats. Alright. Ow. Might have hit a trash can. Is Vinka doing a punishment? What did I join into? I was doing squats. I'm trying to be more fit, and I want to do this thing where I do 5 squats or 10 squats during the ad break. I forgot to do it for this one, so I was making up for it. Oh, I'm kind of out of breath. Oh no. From 5 squats, I'm really out of shape. But Fugubi, hello. We're making stamps today. We're making Maya stamps today. But one thing, okay, I'm not like super out of breath, but I am kind of feeling it. So these are glyphs for colors as a review. Oh yeah, I think, what did you say, Bear Wear Bear? It's okay because you're cousins. Yeah, I had no issue with with that. So this is red. This is the glyph for red. And it's pronounced chak. This is the glyph for yellow. It's pronounced kan, K-A-N. This is the glyph for blue-green, and it's pronounced yash, Y-A-X. This is the glyph for black, and it's pronounced ik. That's I-K apostrophe. And this is the glyph for white, and it's sak, S-A-K. Sak. Yeah, chuk, and yellow is kan. Blue is Josh! Yes! And then what's yeah, white is suck. You remember black? Black is eek. It's I-K apostrophe. Or you could spell it E-E-K, I guess. Eek! Exactly. Alright, so if you weren't here the last time we made a stamp, here's the process. We have a printout here. It should fit on here. What we're gonna do, yeah, exactly, Bear. It's eek. We're actually going to use a lead pencil to draw on top. We're just going to trace out the general shape. You know what? I need a sharpener. It's okay. I'm going to use this pencil. The thing is, I don't think I have a sharpener. And if I do, I don't know where we put it. I'm just kind of like transferring a lot of the lead onto the lines. Because what we're going to do is we're going to flip this upside down and try to, not upside down, to the other side. We're going to flip it to the other side, and we're going to try to transfer the design onto the rubber. And that's going to help us with our carving. And the good thing is we're starting with a really simple glyph, so this isn't going to take too long to transfer at all. So when it suddenly gets dark, you say black automatically. I smart. You want to do this? Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Like, I got these supplies from work, but I'm pretty sure my coworker just got them from like Amazon. So there we go. We turn it upside down. And then I'm just going to use like the bottom of my carving tool to kind of like squish that pigment, or not pigment. I'm going to squish the lead onto the rubber. Yeah, so like all you would need to do if you wanted to try this out would be to get like the rubber stamps basically. You can actually do this on erasers too. It goes dark, people say eek. Oh, that's what you meant. I gotcha. I gotcha. But all you would need for doing something like this is like this rubber stamp thing, which they come in packs. I don't remember how many that my coworker ordered, but she gave me a bunch. She gave me a bunch. So and these are like 2x2. You could also get like a bigger or a smaller size, but this kind of worked best for us. And then preferably some kind of carving tool. This I think on Amazon, or if you want to buy from a place that isn't a evil conglomerate, you could, there's probably like art stores that sell something like this. But this on Amazon was I think about like $8. But there's also like a 2-pack for like less than $20. Yeah, Michael's probably has lino cut stuff. Because it's like, yeah, like Amazon is there for the convenience, but if you also want to fund a place that isn't as evil, you could also get it from like your local art store. Wait, so is blue-green like turquoise or specifically blue-green? That's a great question. So, there was a differentiation. I kind of want to like show you guys. Is it Bonampak that has the like vibrant blue? Or you know what? Maya blue. Maya blue versus jade green. So the question was... Question from Bear is, Yash, this glyph right here, it refers to blue-green, and it basically refers to everything that is between... Hold on. Turn off the webcam. There we go. From jade green to like Maya blue. So both of these count as kind of the same color, and it's not that Maya people physically saw these as the same color, it's more so different shades of the same color. You know, so like this is more on like one end of the spectrum, while this would be on the other end of the spectrum, if that makes sense. So it is the same thing as like Folk was making like a Simpsons reference, but you could also argue like maroon versus burgundy, right? These are similar enough colors that you could also just call it red, right? But can you imagine that there's a culture where it's like, oh, you guys just see it as red? Well, for us, this is specifically burgundy, and for us, this is specifically maroon, right? Whereas, like, other people would just be like, it's just red, you know? It's just red. So that's the same thing with, like, Maya folks, where it's like, we see these as two distinct colors of jade green and Maya blue, but for them, it was like, no, that's the same color, but it's just different shades of the same color, you know? So you can find stamp stuff in thrift stores too. Yeah, I understand that's rubber now, but kind of hungry and thought it was some good Swiss cheese. Look for a block printing kit or linoleum cutter kit, and a lot of those come with everything you need to get started. Exactly. Yeah, sometimes they do come in kits. Yeah, turquoise is super important for a lot of natives. Yeah, I know that, what is it? Like, the tribe that, Pocahontas was originally from? Like, turquoise was really, or I think for a lot of, like you said, like a lot of natives, right? Emeralds can kind of span that spectrum. Yeah, that's a good point, right? So jade, emeralds, turquoise, sapphires are all Josh. Exactly. It's all Josh in the end. So I think with all of the pressing we did, I think the design should have transferred, but let's see. So not quite, but it's enough. It's enough that we could just trace around it. So like the outer edge needs a little bit of darkening, but there's enough there that I could just refine the shape. I could just like carve around the lead right now, but another step that you could do is you can also draw over it again in ink. I'll do that just to like show you that it's a thing, but if you're confident enough with like the design you have here, you could also just start carving, but just in case. We'll also do it in ink. I've seen people use like Sharpie as well. Just so that, like, the thing with lead is that it can smudge if you bump up against it too much. Whereas the ink, as long as it's dry, it won't smudge up as much. There we go. So we have our glyph. And now we can go ahead and start carving. There's a bunch of different, since the last time I was carving, I exchanged carving tools with one of my coworkers because I ended up just having like 2 blades. There's actually different kinds of blades. So this one is like a U-shaped blade. It's not easy to see, but basically this is good for like carving more quantity-wise. And then for like more detail-oriented cuts, you want to use like a V-shaped blade. But yeah, these do have blades at the end, so if you're trying to pursue this, if you're trying to like get into it, just be aware of that. Don't accidentally get cut on the blades. Because I remember seeing this and knowing that it was a blade, but I thought this whole thing was a blade. It's not. It's actually just like this edge right here. It's just the tip of it. So you can hold this just fine. I mean, not too like tightly, but you know what I mean. So then you do like that. And then the rest of the blades you can actually store away inside the tool itself. This one's kind of the scariest because like this whole like outer edge is a blade. So be very careful. If you're getting into this, if you're buying these supplies, be very, very careful. I forgot the real spelling. It's okay. It's Yash. Y-A-X. The scooper. So just the tip is dangerous. Yes, exactly. That's one way to say it. Yes. Yash. Okay, one thing that you don't have to do it this way, but one thing that I just find very satisfying is to carve out the edges first. So I'm going to do that. And it also kind of helps me adjust to like what kind of pressure I need to apply. Because with this, you do need to be careful with how much pressure you apply. You could accidentally dig a little bit too deep. And then it's hard to get the blade back out. Well, not hard, but it kind of does mess up with the carving. And then if it's too light, you're just not going to carve into anything at all. So I'm still an amateur with this, by the way. But I'm just going off of like what I've learned so far, what I've noticed so far. Yeah, I just find something very, you know what? I think I can also afford to zoom in the camera a little bit more. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Oh, I guess that's as far as it... Oh, no, I can zoom more. I can zoom more. There we go. There we go. It does ruin the quality a little bit, but that's fine. It's fine. It's all good. Especially in the hood. Beeplebees, hello. You are first. First to be orange in the wait. I think Dove Beetle is actually orange in the chat. Yeah, Dove Beetle is also orange, but it's okay. You're first after Dove Beetle. But hello, Beeplebees. Hello. We are carving out some Maya stamps. So, like I said, I like to start out carving the edges just to get myself acquainted with how hard to press in. And then after that, I like to carve around the outline of the overall shape. Because this white space right here is all going to go. It's all going to be carved away. Because all we want to leave behind is basically the lines. So actually, maybe I should change from a U-shaped blade to a V-shaped blade. But let me cut out the outline first. And then you do also want to make sure, because this is a blade, you do want to make sure that you're always carving away from your fingers. And with that in mind, you want to like make sure that you're rotating the stamp. If it's too big to rotate the whole stamp, you can also do what I did here, where I put it over like some kind of paper and I just rotate the paper. Actually, let me move these aside a little bit. I'm gonna share this stream to my best friend. This is really cool. Yeah, go for it. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you ignore enough people, you're always first. Good point, right? Let me go ahead and switch over to a smaller blade, or like a V-shaped one. Oh, the only thing with this tool is that it's actually hard to get the blade out sometimes. Sometimes it just gets stuck. So let me loosen it. Might have to like wiggle it out. hate when it does this. There we go. Got it out. I'm gonna switch to like a V-shaped one. Because that one helps a little bit more with like details. So here's a V-shaped one. Okay. And then I'll keep the U-shaped one out for other detail. Wiggles! Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, there we go. I didn't do a great job with the outline of this, but the cool thing is that you can just keep on carving away till the shape is as accurate as you need it to be. One thing too is if you're gonna pursue this but you also want to stream it, is just be aware. Okay, this might just be like a personal thing for me, but once it gets to like I guess closer cuts, or once you're trying to like get a little bit more detail, I have a habit of just putting my face like right up close to it. So I have to practice putting this closer to my face instead of putting my head in the camera. Yeah, it does, I don't know, it does like scratch different parts of the brain when you go from like the big carves to like the little detailed oriented ones. Shrimping, I realized that as soon as you started saying it, yeah. The shrimping is real. Okay, so I have like a outline, but I also want to... I'm gonna start shaving out all these like little white parts. So... Because basically, like I said, you're shaving away everything but the line. Okay. I still want to learn like some of the techniques to like making really good carves, because I still am not quite getting like the right shape that I want, but at the same time, the cool thing about this kind of like art technique is that it's pretty forgiving in that like if you don't get it right the first time, you could just do multiple passes. I'd have my eye like right there. Yeah, exactly. Understandable. Try to do that when I tried model kit build on stream and cut the nibs off camera instead of in. Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing, is that like what you want and don't want on camera, because like you want your audience to see like what it is you're doing, but then you also want to see what you're doing, but you also don't want to dox yourself by having your face like right in the camera, right? But luckily, I think even if I did do that, you would just see the back of my head. And you'd be like, where are her bare ears? It's funny because this camera, I don't know, has a way of first taking away my bare paws, but also my bare ears. So you might just see like a bunch of black and white hair. There we go. We got one part. One part is carved away. And what we're also going to do once we like finish kind of our initial carving is we're going to put a little bit of pigment on it. Like I have a stamp pad. We're going to put that on it to kind of see where else we need to keep on carving. Because then the ink is going to put some cool like contrast to see like how deep some of those cuts are. If the cuts are too shallow, it's still going to show up on the stamp. So you're going to need to cut away at it even more. Oh man, I have driving practice later on today. I mean, not today, tomorrow. Deep cuts. Or just a weird side profile, exactly. I have driving practice tomorrow with Beans. We have to go early because the last time we tried driving practice, it was last Sunday. We usually go to like a local, like, basically like a school, because like, you know, there's no school on weekends unless it's like a college. So like the parking lot is pretty empty, and that's like a really good place to practice driving. The only thing is that other people have that idea too. Like, so sometimes we get beat to the punch. We went to like a parking lot last Sunday, and oh no, I think I cut. No, actually, I did fine. I did fine. I was gonna say I think I cut too much into the overall outline. But yeah, we went to like our local like empty parking lot, and there was another pair of people that were also practicing driving. And then we tried to go to like a community college that was like on like the another part of the city. And that also had another pair of people that were trying to learn driving. Everyone was stealing our idea. Proud of your driving journey. I know it's tough. Oh, thank you, Owen. Once I wasn't panicking behind the wheel, I just scheduled my test, so I forced myself to be ready for it. That's the thing with me, is that I already have my license from when I was 22. So like I don't have a set like oh, I need to get better. I need to get like well enough at driving so that I can pass the test. Here it's like I already have the license, so it's just more of like I just need to like be, I guess, like, what is my stopping point, you know? Is it just like when I feel more confident? Or is it just when I feel like, you know, oh, I can do the freeways now? Which the freeways actually weren't that scary when I was first learning how to drive in my 20s. I remember like I did the freeway for the first time and I was like, that wasn't so bad. Like that actually wasn't so bad. For me, it's not like merging into lanes and stuff that scares me. It's like how to keep myself concentrated when I'm in traffic. Because what I'm scared of is my mind wandering and just not like paying attention during traffic, or just like accidentally, I guess, pressing the gas too much and like rear-ending someone, you know? Alright, we're getting like the 4 corners out of the way, and then I want to try and do like the center, and then we'll do this big overall shape. Take more day trips out to the countryside. Oh, the countryside is so far away though. It's so far away. It's almost harder because you just gotta force yourself to go on road trips. Yeah, depending on the timing in Los Vincos, it could be like a nice little countryside drive, or it could just be like, we're stuck in traffic for the next 2 hours. Like, highway driving is honestly really easy. It's just on-ramps that are scary. Yeah, like trying to merge into lanes and stuff. Getting traffic during driving practice. Driving is scary and really never stops being so on some level. Interstates are always scary. Big trucks everywhere. It's the potential speed of collision that worries me. Yeah, plus the big rigs. It's not even about the drivers of the rigs. Many are very, very good. There's just some dire physics involved. Yeah, right? It's scary. And it's also, I was part of the generation that grew up on, Final Destination. So whenever there's like a truck with like a bunch of logs, or like, I don't know, just something that could fall off the truck, it's always like a bit of a panic moment, right? Of just like, Which one is this one? Oh, this is yellow. This is Kan. 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 Used to drive for a living and never stops being scary. Yeah. Because I'm very used to like taking the bus here in Los Vincos. Very, very used to it. Okay, this one, because it's a perfect circle, I have to just constantly be rotating the stamp. I'm used to taking the bus everywhere, which is cool because I'm not the one driving, I could just space out, right? Or I listen to like audiobooks, which I know people do also listen to audiobooks when they're driving, but to me it's such a foreign concept. It's like, but I have to be focusing. I have to be focusing on the road. Driving is fun, especially when you drive mountainside and hitting small drift late at night. Oh man, are you the character from Initial D? Was it Takumi? It's funny because like I've never actually like watched it myself, but I've seen Beans watch it because he loves that show. Initial D. That still freaks me out. I don't want to get cored by a random pipe. Yeah, exactly. Kan. Buses rule. Do you put these on YouTube or anything? I do have a VOD channel. And then I have like a channel where I just post like more edited content, but right now it just has 2 videos. Let me see if I could get that for you right now. I want to see if this still works. Sochmed? Yeah, there you go. Cool. So, oh, that's funny. I haven't updated this since I went back to Twitter. So it just has my Bisky and my VOD channel. But that is my VOD channel, so I do need to update that. You know what? That's a reminder to write down. Update Sochmed command. There we go. See, I'm making note of I'm using my notepad. Thank you. Of course, of course. Yeah, feel free to. I always I'm pretty good at uploading all my VODs on time. If I forget for a week, then like the latest you'll have to wait is like the following week. But I usually upload all my VODs for the week all at once, usually on a Sunday, which means I should schedule that to happen today. Because my like line of thinking is that you can still view the VOD from like the past week on Twitch, and then after about 2 weeks the VOD expires, right? So that's when it gets transferred to YouTube. Okay, we're almost done with just the outline of this part. And there's still a lot more carving to do, but I just like getting like that initial outline done. I hadn't followed you back on Bisky, so that was a good reminder. You know what's funny? I did the same thing with Almontas. I think I followed him back on Bisky, but never on Twitter, because there was a span of time where like everyone was kind of jumping ship to Bisky and like abandoning their Twitter. Nowadays, I use both. I still use both, but a little bit more so Twitter. But because I had like abandoned Twitter for a little bit, I didn't realize that like people followed me on there. And then I realized like probably a year later that Almontas followed me on Twitter, and then I followed him back like a couple weeks ago. And then like I saw him on stream, and like I was like, oh, I'm sorry about that. And he's like, yeah, I noticed that you like followed me out of nowhere suddenly. And I'm like, it's because I forgot. I didn't even realize that you followed me on there. I don't know why, but the rubber looks so yummy. It kind of does. It kind of does. I won't fault you for that, because you're kind of right. Alright, these cuts are not perfect, but that's fine, because we don't need it to be perfect for these big old white spaces. There we go. And then I kind of want to show you like how much of a difference the pigment, or just adding like the little like stamp pigment on it makes. That helps with the carving a lot, but I will show you what I mean. And pull this. Okay, we're not done by any means, but I just want to show you this technique. Where is the ink pad? A coworker gave me one to work with, so let me find it. I feel bad, but like I'll see something when I'm like half asleep and then forget about it till months later. Yeah. Which is fine though, which is fine, you know? Oh, this is a big stamp pad. What the heck? This is big. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and just put it down like that. Or we could also do the reverse, where we... You know what? I have a smaller one. I should probably just use the smaller one. Because the smaller one is a little bit easier to manipulate too. Here, because this one, you can like flip it around like that. And then you can just do like that. There we go. So I'm putting like ink on this via an ink pad. So the parts that are white are deep enough that they're not going to show up when you stamp it. So let's go ahead and test this out real quick. That looks neat, right? Right? It does, right? There we go. Oh, that looks pretty cool. But we're also not done because this whole part does have to be carved away, and then the entire like inside has to be carved away too. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna switch back to the wider U-shaped blade because that's actually gonna help us carve out a little bit more at once. That looks good. Thank you. I'm also gonna throw away these shavings right here. Luckily, I put a trash can right next to me. Alright, so now we switched over to the U-shaped blade. This should make it a little bit easier to cut away at larger swaths of stamp. There we go, like that. Oh, and if you guys thought that the rubber looked yummy before, once it gets into the pink parts, it kind of looks like candy. Because now that it's like covered in black ink, now it doesn't look as appetizing, but watch. Babinka's gonna be eating my stamps after this. Is rubber meltable? Like, could you reuse the shavings? Oh, I don't know. I've kind of just been throwing them away. I actually did not look into that. I don't think you can, though. But it is worth looking into. That's a good question. Because I do know that you could definitely do that with, like, metal, right? Which that's also a cool hobby to get into one of these days, is like metalwork. I did take a metalworking class in high school, but it was like for summer school. It was one of those things where like I had to take a remedial class because I failed it, but it was like I might as well take like a second class so that like I have something to do during the summer. So I took like algebra 2. And it's always the case where, like, I fail, like, algebra or some kind of math class during the school year, but when I take it in the summer, I, like, get perfect scores. And I do think maybe it's a teacher thing, because I remember I just did not like my algebra teachers. But yeah, I do remember taking Metal Shop, that's what it was called. It was like, it wasn't called metallurgy. I feel like that would have been too big of a word for my high school brain. But it was Metal Shop. I remember like we were taught how to like cut metal bars and stuff, like how to safely use the tools, but we also used this technology that like if you just if you had a design already and like all the ends were closed and stuff like that, you can kind of like print it onto like a piece of metal. Or not print it, it was like the machine was able to like follow the design, because I remember I did one with like an octopus. I had like an octopus design, and it would cut the metal into that design. Maybe etching, but I remember it was like a complete cut. Like it wasn't just etching into like a square thing. It would cut the square into the shape that you wanted. Let me scroll up. I missed a couple of messages. Those curly cues look like a pile of cat temptations. Oh, you're right. Metalworking sounds really cool. Yeah, metal wax and technically glass, but that's hard. Bad math teachers. Yup. Metalworking is super fun. I did it at a church camp thingy. I use a metal and a water one. Metal laser. Ah. I think it was a laser. It was a laser where like, I just remember, I wish I still had this. I gave it to a friend. But it was like an octopus like metal work. Oh, you know what? Now I remember I also made like a bunch of like nameplates. To this day, like I think my parents' apartment, it has like a little like nameplate with our last names on it. It's like my mom's last name and my dad's last name. They still use it. I think it was with a laser, because I don't think that it was using water, but I could be wrong. But I remember half the class, I forget if I talked about this on stream, but like I remember high school, we had so much free time. Like the teacher would just give us so much free time. Like half the class was actually like learning a lesson, and the other half was just like us playing around on like the school computer in the background, like because this was before Chromebooks, right? This is before like everyone had their own Chromebook, so you had to like go to a table. Okay, like middle school, you had to go to the computer lab to use a computer. High school, there was usually like 2 or 3 computers kind of like in the back of the classroom that like people could use, but it was kind of dusty, so people didn't always use it. But I remember one time we had free time and me and my friends just like, it was like a Mac computer, and we were just playing around with like the photo booth, and we were playing around with like all the effects and stuff. But otherwise, like back then during free time, people would just like yap, you know? I would hope that it's the same nowadays, but I don't know how often kids are like using their Chromebooks for nefarious things, you know? It's funny because I was actually watching a lot of videos about this topic recently. About kind of like why education is, especially here in Bear America, like why it is the way that it is right now. It's very interesting topics. I can yap about them more, but let me catch up on chat. My friend makes D&D dice boxes with a laser engraver. That's awesome. I think engraving's super cool. Me and Beans, when we were at EVO a couple years back, the fighting game tournament in Vegas, he got one of his like fight sticks like engraved with a picture of Babinka and Beans the bear. It was very cute. And then we were in line with a dude that had a whole bunch of like autographs from like different fighting game professionals, and he got those engraved. And it was a long line, so like we were just like making conversation with the guy. That's super cute, yeah. Oh yeah, so as to what I was saying before about like why like Bear American education is the way that it is right now. So I watched a video recently about well, yeah, that topic. It started with I think for those that were here yesterday, you know that I was watching videos about like this movement to like go more analog, to like use your phone less, and I've been kind of like hopping on that train. But one of the person that I watched, they also work as a teacher, so they also made a video about like the current state of like Bear American education. And it's pretty bad. It's pretty bleak right now because like a lot of people are saying that like, oh, test scores have been like down for the first time in forever, because like with education, every year like test scores do like get better and better overall, not talking about like specific communities or specific cities, but like overall in Bear America, test scores generally do go up until around 2012, 2013. And people are wondering like what's the correlation, right? Because that's a little bit like before the beginning of like the Trump presidency. So as much as like a lot of people want to blame the Trump presidency, it's not that. And as much as a lot of people want to blame funding, Bear America actually spends a lot on education, but it's actually like a matter of where are those funds going to, right? Feels like a random year. Yeah, so the video does lead up to like the reasoning behind it. So what was I saying? The funds for education, apparently like the US spends about like 3 billion with a B, like 3 billion years, 3 billion years, $3 billion on education a year. However, a good chunk of that money is going towards retirement funds for teachers that have retired. And the video that I watched was very like critical of that, and I totally kind of get that. Like, why are they getting so much money over the people who are still teaching and the kids who are still learning? But it's also like I kind of get it, you know, like after so many years of teaching, like I feel like it is kind of deserved to have like a good pension, a good like retirement fund. But I also get the argument against of like, oh yeah, like why are we spending so much more money on people who already retired versus like the kids who are still learning and the educators who are still teaching, right? But another chunk of that money goes to technology. And that's kind of like, at least with the video that I saw, that's kind of the point that they were making, is that it's the role of technology. Because like I said, when I was in high school, we had computers in the classroom, but they weren't always in our face. Like if you absolutely needed to use the computer, you usually use the computer lab. The computers were in a specific location that you had to go to, as opposed to like, all right, everyone, open up your Chromebooks in order to do this assignment, right? So this person's video was making the argument that like it wasn't not necessarily the use of computers in the classroom, because that's been a thing since like the 90s, right? It's the fact that like it's every student has their own individual computer at all times. It's the fact that like the computers are like necessary in order to do your assignments, to learn how to say write an essay, stuff like that. Whereas like before you could just use like pencil and paper. And the kind of big deal with that is that like because it's like so integrated in the curriculum now, it is kind of like messing with students' brains, because like for many of them, computers are also kind of like a fun machine. It's like associated with like social media or playing video games or stuff like that. But the moment that you're kind of like asking them to also use it as like an educational tool, like that's where it kind of like starts to fall apart, because then students are rushing through their educational content in order to do the fun content. That to me, I feel like it is still like a mixed case scenario. I think more studies need to be done about that specifically, but I think there is some kind of difference between like the use of computers back in the day versus the use of computers nowadays, because it's like essentially like in your face. It like students have to use it, so it has to be in your face at all times. And of course, there is also differences with how schools integrate the use of technology. A school where it is in your face all the time is just as likely as a school where it's like, sometimes the computer is not in your face. So I do think that it's a very nuanced topic. But I don't know, I do kind of see it. I do, like, as someone who like goes to very many schools throughout the school year and has been doing this since 2018. I've been teaching since 2015, but I've been in the program that I'm in since 2018. There has been a change. Psychology suggests that separating work and play into different spaces and times is really beneficial for all kinds of reasons. Yeah, I wonder if it's different for youngsters, since in college it was like that too. Back in the day in my college, everyone had laptops. Same. I graduated 2015 though. I guess you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but when you say graduated, do you mean high school or college? Because I also graduated college 2015, and I do remember like you did see an uptick. Or sorry, I graduated high school in 2009, graduated college in 2015. It took me a little bit longer because I kept changing my major. Oh, college from nursing. Oh, okay, so I think that means we graduated like around the same time then. Because you're right, I did see like a bit of an uptick in like computer use. But back then it was like not necessarily Chromebooks, it was MacBooks that I would see. Chromebooks, I do feel like there's a little bit of a difference in like college students using it versus elementary through high school students like having Chromebooks always in their face. Not always though, because like I think the main thing is like impulse control. But that's not to say that I haven't seen, because I was also a TA for a little bit in college too. That isn't to say that like every single college student has more impulse control and isn't using their laptop in their college class for nefarious reasons, right? But I do feel like it's different because the kids are growing up with this as being like normalized, of like, oh yeah, like you need computer to use to do work, right? Okay, we're starting to get into the fine details now. Yeah, that'd be interesting to study too, like the difference. Exactly. So I'm curious about that kind of stuff. I think it's not even just computers in the classroom. I think it is also just like the new landscape of social media and the new landscape of like TikTok and like short form media, because I think it's the fact that like young people are kind of expecting immediate results or immediate dopamine, immediate everything, you know? And not because that's how their brains work, but because that's just how they grew up. Like with short form media, it's like you get some kind of payoff immediately. You get the punchline to the joke. You get the payoff from like a hook. Ah, dang. The only thing with this tool that it's kind of hard to take the blade off. Come on, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna go to a smaller blade now. There's also things way back in the day before I had a phone that I had a lot of numbers and addresses memorized and immediately lost it when I got a phone. Yeah, so we were talking about that yesterday. So I've been into this, I've been on a real kick lately on like, should I just not have a phone anymore? I should still have a phone. Mega Bronson, hello. I'm not gonna get rid of my phone, my smartphone anytime soon, but there is this like relatively recent movement of like having a dumb phone instead of a smartphone. Oh yeah, the smaller blade is doing wonders. There we go. Okay, so this is going to help us with a lot of details. But before I do that, let's do another like pigment check. Alright, so let's put some ink on this again. But hello, Mega Bronson. Hello, hello. We were talking about the state of education, but also the idea of having a dumb phone over a smartphone. I feel like I would have stopped my hands a few times already. Yeah, it is kind of like, I keep making comparisons to like driving practice of like, sometimes you need to like, a good gauge of how hard to put your foot on the pedal, right? Okay, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Not too bad. There's a couple of details that I think I want to shave away, but otherwise I think this one's almost done. And I might sharpen up some details after stream, but I do also want to move on to a new stamp. We might want to do a more complicated one even. Here's a line over here. There we go. But yeah, for those who weren't here yesterday, I was talking about how I was watching this video of a guy who basically locked his phone away in a safe for about a month. But before he did that, he did make some preparation. He did tell his friends that, like, you're not going to be able to contact me on my cell phone. You're going to have to use this landline with a answering machine. Which, like, I think the novelty of it is really neat, but unless you have, like, a crew or, like, a community that's down for that, I don't know how well that's going to work, because I told my therapist about this too, and she said that, like, actually there's a lot of parents recently that rather than give their kid a cell phone, they've been giving them landline phones. And there's even a company that specializes in it called Tin Can. And it's like, it's an interesting concept, but the thing is, like, you have to make sure that, like, that kid's friends are kind of down for that, you know, like that the kid's friends are okay with, like, also getting these landline phones, right? Because if it succeeds, then yeah, like, it's cool, because then the idea of using your phone is locked to a certain location rather than something that you, like, bring with you all the time. And also, like, the landline phones also don't have any social media, right? There's no TikTok or Twitter on a landline phone. So it's a really cool concept, but I think part of it is, like, you have to make sure that you have, like, a community or a crew that's down for it. The dumb phone thing I've heard about since 2015. At the time, it was like tech pioneers in Silicon Valley pushing productivity life hacks. So that's what I've been noticing too, is that, like, I've been getting a lot more videos on my algorithm about, like, oh, going analog and, like, productivity hacks and all these kinds of things. And it's cool, but I do also see the critique. The critique that, like, especially with, like, going analog, of, like, replacing your smartphone with all of the things that it replaced. So for example, your smartphone has all of your contacts, so it replaced both, like, your landline phone as well as your Rolodex or your address book. It has like a clock on it, so, like, it replaced your wristwatch. It has a camera, so it replaced, like, digital cameras or film cameras. So it replaced so many things. So there's this idea of, like, going analog, as in, like, well, instead of, like, a phone, instead of just your smartphone, have a digital camera and also have a Rolodex or an address book, but also have a watch and have, like, all these things. And instead of, like, games on your phone, have, like, a Game Boy, you know? It's cool, but I've also seen the critique that, like, this is also another way of, like, spreading consumerism or being, like, being part of like the consumerist like mindset, right? Of like, oh, I have to buy more. I have to buy more to like you know, feel good again and not use my phone so much. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like going too much in the other direction, you know? I just oops accidentally, but only kind of lose mine somewhere in the house the moment I get home, then periodically re-find it and check messages. Which might be good, because then at the very least that means you're not like, you know, chronically addicted to your phone, right? I think yesterday someone in chat said that like they really only use their apps for like receiving calls and like text messages, and that's it. Which is kind of preferable compared to like being on your phone 24/7. You're always on some kind of social media, right? I looked it up. You can't remelt rubber, but some people use the scraps for background stamping. Oh, I don't know what that means, but I'm down to check that out. But okay, even though this one isn't like 100% done, I think we're gonna call it done for now. And then we're gonna start on another one. We might just do 2 today. So the question is, do we do... We have chalk, which is red. We have yush, which is green-blue. And then we have black and white. So eek, which is black, and white, which is suck. Or suck, which is white. So I'm thinking, I'm kind of like leaning towards yash because it's the only one without this like cross-hatching. This cross-hatching you do see occasionally in Maya glyphs. Let me actually hold this a little bit closer so that you can kind of see like the little like cross-hatching over here is actually meant to denote like a dark space, or like the color black, basically. Josh, nice. Okay, yeah, we'll do yash. We'll do yash. You called it. You called it. Back when I heard about it, it was more of a do less, leisure, be more productive, add value to shareholder vibes. Yeah, like it feels like, regardless of like how well-meaning a lot of movements are, like for example, back in the day I was very into minimalism, right? And like digital minimalism. Like however good it might do for an individual person, there's always some kind of ulterior motive that is kind of like the reason why it gets pushed by the algorithm or gets pushed by certain companies. Like, because it's a new angle of like, how do I sell my thing, you know? Like, oh, and it was kind of funny with like minimalism, because it's like the whole point of minimalism is to like, and like the Marie Kondo movement is to like get rid of things that don't serve a purpose for you anymore, right? Like just surround your things with things that make you happy, or things that you really need, you know, even if it doesn't make you happy. That was kind of like the aim of that, but it did get kind of corrupted into this capitalism. Chungus emote. Yeah, like it always gets corrupted because like it falls kind of into the hands of like the corporations being like, okay, how can we make this this movement and this ideal serve us, right? Oh, you can't be minimalist unless you have, you know, this minimalist water bottle. You know, you can't be minimalist unless you have this minimalist tote bag that you can buy from us, you know? And it's funny because it just goes against the whole idea of minimalism. So now that like going analog is becoming like a trending thing, I feel like you are seeing like companies or like content creators kind of like trying to cash in on it by being like, all right, if you want to go analog, you should buy my film camera, or you should buy my dumb phone, you should buy my thing, you know? So there's always some kind of like ulterior motive, and I think that's why it is completely fair to be suspicious of a lot of these like movements, as much as they might benefit you in the long run, right? Cottage industry sprang up commodifying minimalism, which is that's the one that's irony. Yeah, 100%. Be minimalist by buying more. Exactly. Because yeah, I totally like, because I like the ideals of a lot of these movements of like with minimalism, it's like, oh, you have like so many things, but how many of those things do you actually, one, use, and if you don't use it, two, value, right? Because I feel like I'm such a like Marie Kondo defender, because I feel like her message has been corrupted in so many ways, because I feel like a lot of people believe Marie Kondo's message to be like, get rid of everything. If you have a collection, I hate you and I'm going to shoot you. Like, that's not her message. Her message is like, if it sparks joy, keep it. You know, if you have a book collection that's like 200 books, keep it. But I think for her, it's also like being intentional with like making sure that you're like reading the books, or these are books that you really truly want to surround yourself with, or is this just a book that you bought for a class and then you don't read it anymore, and maybe that book might be better used by someone else, like someone that might find it in like a donation pile, you know. And I think it's also very much, I do know that we have an ad break coming up. I think it's also very connected with the idea of like Japanese Shintoism, and this idea that everything has a soul, everything has like an essence to it. And I kind of like the way that she kind of anthropomorphizes, she kind of like humanizes things like objects, because it's like this isn't enough time for me to talk about it, but like no, actually, Marie Kondo showed up at my house and personally stabbed me. She got rid of the knife very efficiently. It's true. It's true. It's true. The knife no longer sparks joy. Exactly. Exactly. But I'll get into it after the ad break. But like, I do kind of like this idea of like, think of your objects as like, or your yeah, think of your objects as like little things with personalities, and that kind of helps a lot of like in a lot of your mindset. But I'll get into it. I'll get into it. But let me put you guys over here in the cub corner. And we'll yap about it. Love that thrift stores finds are enriched by signs of previous owners, and it's just cool context in history. Yeah, exactly. Or else they'll turn into tsukumogami, exactly. Or they could be your vital instrument in Gachi Akuta. But all right, I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. I need some water. Okay, we're back. Let me take another sippy of my water. Okay, before I catch up on chat, to finish my thought about like Marie Kondo, or not even finish because I feel like I'm gonna go into another like 15-minute tangent. But I feel like a lot of her philosophy is based off of like Japanese Shintoism, which is connected to this idea of animism, as in like everything, whether it's like a tree or a rock or a bug or anything, has like a soul or some kind of like vital like essence to it, right? If not a soul, then some kind of like essence to it. And just this idea that they're almost like anthropomorphized or they're like humanized in a way. So even though it's not explicit, it kind of like shows up in some of the things that she says in her books, where it's like, oh, like make sure you thank your objects once you've like finished using them, or if you're gonna like donate or throw it away, like thank your objects. It doesn't have to be like a big like out loud thank you pencil for helping me with my really hard homework. It could just be like an internal, just like, you know, just like a little like acknowledgement of like, oh, this pencil really like helped me. And I'm using the example of a pencil, but it could really be anything that you really like have some kind of attachment to. And I do know that people have like kind of ridiculed her for that, of like, I'm not gonna thank a pencil for for doing that, you know. But I do feel like it's something more to like, for example, throwing away a plushie. I feel like that's easier to imagine because they usually resemble some kind of creature or animal. And sometimes people do find it really hard to throw away a plushie. I know I actually like struggled with throwing away one of my bear plushies. Because I named it and everything, and it was like a pillow, but it also got really like kind of gross and dirty, so we had to throw it away. Oh, what did we named him Scribbles. So so it's like, it kind of sounds silly to like thank something, but it does also kind of help you mentally to be like, all right, this object has done its job. This object gave me comfort when I needed it, and it's done its job. And you know, like, it's tired. It's a little bear, and it's tired, and it's time for it to go to the big plushie retirement home in the garbage. Like, I think we donated it, actually. We didn't throw it away, but yeah, like it might help like mentally to do that. But now imagine that with like a bag that you really like that you have to unfortunately throw away, or something that you don't even care that much about, but it's hard to throw away or donate because, like, say a friend gave it to you. I think a good example that she gave is like Christmas cards or birthday cards. Sometimes we struggle to like throw it away because like in the moment the person that gave it to us like was really thinking about us. Or it could have been a last minute like, oh, I forgot to give a Christmas present to my niece. Let me just get a card real quick. But like we also might associate that card with like the person, so it might be hard to throw away that card for that reason, right? But Marie Kondo makes this point that like the card kind of fulfilled its duty once it was delivered to you, and like once you kind of got that feeling of like happiness. So you can like kind of forgive yourself and throw that away if you really want to. But there's also nothing wrong with keeping it if it still sparks joy, if it really reminds you of that person, right? So there's that. And then I think of she also says like, oh, if you have like a bag, I think this is more so for people with purses, or just bags, tote bags. They say that like at the end of the day, empty it out, you know? Take everything out, because it does like a dual purpose of like, for one, if you're imagining the bag as like a sentient being, then it's recovering. It wants to rest as much as you want to rest. But on like a more pragmatic, like realistic kind of way, you don't want to leave like a sandwich in there and have it be moldy. Or like, you know, an orange or something like that you forgot about. Because I do know that there have been times where me or some of my loved ones have accidentally left like a food item inside of a bag because they forgot about it after class or work or something, and it got gross. Or if not food or something that's degradable, then something that you've been looking for. Like, how many times have I lost like either my keys or my phone, or well, actually usually not my phone, but like I've actually forgotten about a pair of earrings that I really liked because I think I wore it to a party, and then I like took off the earrings and put it in my coat pocket, and then I didn't wear that coat for a while. And it wasn't until I was like, and then I like for a long time I was like, where are my earrings? Like, where are my cool hoop ABG earrings? You know, they were like golden hoops. So like how often does that happen? Yeah, you leave your keys in your coat all the time. Yeah, right? So like it helps to like think of it as like, oh, my coat needs to recover, so I'm gonna take everything out of the pockets to help it recover and rest as much as I want to recover and rest. But it does also have that like tip of like, oh, it also helps you find the things that you were losing. Because I didn't find my earrings until like, I want to say 2 years later, when I was like cleaning out my coat and I was like, oh my god, this is where the earrings went. So that's part of it. That's another thing that I like about some of like Marie Kondo's works, where she's like, it does kind of help in some ways to like anthropomorphize some of your objects just so that you have this idea of like, one, they need to rest and recover as much as you do. Two, it's okay if you need to throw them away, but it's also okay to keep them. But if you do need to throw away or donate them, then like, you know, you can thank them for their service, so to speak. And then third, this idea of just like keeping tidy. If you anthropomorphize your objects, then it also helps with keeping them tidy, because you're imagining that they need to go back home, right? Like if the keys have their home in the key bowl, then you'll never lose your keys because they're always in the key bowl. They're always at home once they're not being used, right? So that's part of the reason why I like her. I know that there are people who like critique her for very like good reasons, but I always feel the need to be like, no, but there's also so much like good wisdom in there. So let me catch up on chat. I've been trying to get more physical games from Steam games I have and play since worried about not owning digital games. I could get a PS5 and or Switch too, but I'm good with PS4 and Switch OLED since I got them at less than their original price and games are really cheap to find. Not to mention, I haven't been into games each console, just indie games lately. Yeah, exactly. That's another reason why people are like trying to quote unquote go analog, because of the whole idea of like, with streaming services and subscription services, people don't own their things anymore, you know? It's like you're paying for like a service, but then like the video game that you bought could be pulled at any moment, or the music that you're listening to could go off of Spotify or Apple Music at any moment, right? So I think that's also sparking a lot of the like, this is why I want to go analog. I want to actually have some kind of ownership over the things that I pay for, you know? A positive practice, yeah. Yeah, it legit did help me, like, with, like, throwing away scribbles because, like, or donating scribbles because it was like, aw, but for one, he's so cute, and we've had him since, like, you know, like, before the pandemic, but he just got so, like, old and honestly kind of crusty, and, like, so it's like, I think it's about that time. I think it's about that time. I try to put them in my pants pockets so I don't forget. Yeah, because then, like, then the keys are cutting into your leg, so that way, like, you don't forget. Or at least that's what happens with me. It's like, I'm not gonna forget about this. They're cutting into my legs. That is a very Shinto concept, though, so I can see why other cultures wouldn't really vibe with the idea so much. Yeah. Oh, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, I can see a critique, though, on, like, don't anthropomorphize your objects too much, because then it does... conversely, it does also kind of make it harder for you to, like, part ways with them, right? Like, with the plushie example, I held on to, like, scribbles for so long because it's like, oh, but I feel so sad. Like, I know he's not, like, a sentient being, but, like, it just feels so sad to know that he's gonna go into a bag and, like, you know, go somewhere else, you know, instead of be on my bed, you know? So it does feel sad in a way. I think it is, like, like with all things, moderation, right? Like, if anthropomorphizing things helps you with, like, your relationship with, like, your objects, then by all means do it. But then when people start to obsess over it, of like, oh no, my pencil isn't happy right now, I need to wash it, or like, you know, something like that, then it's like, maybe you might need to, like, rethink some things, right? We discovered my CD collection from the 90s and never letting that go. Yes, exactly, don't let it go. If it sparks joy, keep it. If it sparks joy, keep it. Because when I was really into minimalism, I threw away so many things that I now regret throwing away, right? Even with digital minimalism, like, I like the ideas of, like, digital minimalism, but one thing is I deleted a couple of accounts that I wasn't really using anymore, including my old live journal. And now, unless I go to, like, the Wayback Machine, like, I can't see any of that anymore. And at the time that I deleted my live journal, it did have a little bit of like bad memories associated with it, so I was okay with like parting ways with like deleting my LiveJournal account. But now it's like, oh, that was kind of a time capsule of my life in the early 20s, or my early 20s, not the early 20s, but like it was like a time capsule of my life in like post high school, pre college, and it's gone because for one, my journal was privated. So even if I go into the Wayback Machine, I can't see my entries anymore. I just see like the like title screen, I guess, of my LiveJournal. But like it would have been cool to like look back, especially now that I'm in my like late 30s, and like look back at like where I was back then, because now I can't, you know? So I do regret deleting that. I had a Tumblr that I also deleted, and it had a lot of like my old art projects. Like I used to do a lot of like manga coloring back in the day, and I unfortunately like deleted a whole bunch of them. So all for the sake of like digital minimalism. So like at the same, I think that is once again like moderation, and like that's kind of why like my little sister, she has really cute art from back when she was a baby, and I took pictures of every single piece of art that she made when she was like from being a baby to like being like in middle school. Because I think at that point I started like not living with my parents anymore. And like every time I show her that I have an album of her old art, she's like, "Oh, that's so embarrassing." But a part of me is like, you're gonna like this when you're like older. You're gonna be like, "Wow, like look at all the weird stuff I made." You know? So yeah, I think moderation with like, yeah, don't be a hoarder, but at the same time, like don't let go of the things that you might never have again, you know? So I hate that one time I had to give up my Bakugan collection and gave it to a friend to hold for me since parents didn't want me to have it. Got worse since that friend sold them off without telling you and said I needed the money instead of talking it out. Oh no. Dang, I'm sorry that happened, Fugubi. Dang, that sucks that they did that. That's dirty. Dang. Like legit my condolences for that, because that's so bad. Especially because that wasn't even theirs to do with what they wanted, you know? But yeah, I think our relationships with objects are interesting. And I think that's also why I'm really digging Gachi Akuta. If you guys aren't familiar with Gachi Akuta, it's a more recent anime derived from a manga. And it kind of does go into that idea of like objects, you know, like not necessarily have a lifespan, but they have like an essence to them that this anime kind of imagines it in like kind of like a shonen way, where like, oh, those objects can become your like magical objects that can like help you fight and stuff like that. But the main protagonist, sorry, I'm just like opening the stamp thingy. The main protagonist like has this what's it called, ideology of like, he feels really sad when he sees things getting thrown out that are still perfectly good. I think it has to do with, I haven't finished the anime yet, but I think it has to do with this idea of like, I don't know if he was like abandoned as a child, like because he has like an adoptive parent essentially, but this feeling of abandonment seems to translate into like not liking objects being abandoned. So like his power is basically it sounds kind of like BS when you first hear it, but it's kind of like his power is to have all powers, but it's more like his superpower is his like gloves. And whatever he touches can become his weapon. And it's kind of but after a while the weapon starts to fade away. And at first he gets like really like sad about it. He's like, oh, why does everything I touch eventually like go away to dust? But they make this realization that like, oh, I don't think it means that like that the object has died or anything. It's more so that the object has kind of like finished its use. Like it's been used to the point where like it can't be used anymore. And like it's basically like a like, yeah, like imagining that objects have a lifespan. And what he's doing is that he's like giving the objects new life. He's making the objects useful again. And now that their job is done, they can finally fade away. So it's an interesting, like, with this conversation in mind about like our objects and stuff and our relationship to our objects, I think the anime Gachi Akuta is also like a cool piece of media to consume in tandem with that. Because yeah, it is interesting not only anthropomorphizing our objects, but also imagining that they have some kind of lifespan. This is also something that you encounter with like art history, right? Because, for example, like with objects that you might find in a museum, that is also like that object has have multiple quote unquote like lives, you know? The object had a life as like when it was first made, and like for example, say like a hammer from ancient Egypt. It had a life when it was first made and it was still being used as a hammer, right, in ancient Egypt. Then eventually maybe it got buried in a tomb, or it got buried somehow and it got refound like thousands of years later on, and it got shipped to a museum. Or let's say that before going to a museum, it like switched hands many times throughout like different markets and collectors and stuff. So that's also part of the object's lifespan, right? And then eventually it makes its way to like a museum where now it's like behind a glass case and it's being admired by other people, right? So that's also part of its lifespan. So an object can have many lifespans, and in different like ways that we understand it. So even if it's not being used, like there is still like there is still kind of like a lifespan to that ancient Egyptian hammer, right? The thing, I custom colored them to look like the show, and that took time to do. Oh no, and they got rid of it. Heck yeah, Gachi Akuta is so good. Rudo may be bad mouth, but he respects people that respect their objects and feel bad when they break, or either friend or foe. Yeah, I think that's why like this conversation is really good with that in mind. And all right, we transfer the design over to the stamp. Let's go ahead and let me refine it a little bit more. And there's a big rectangle here. Oh, is this SB19? Oh, it is SB19. I was like, we're not listening to Alamat anymore. There we go. Let me go ahead and draw over it with pen. But I think this conversation came out of this idea of like practicing minimalism or digital minimalism, and then I got into a conversation about like Marie Kondo. But yeah, I was back in the day very much into this idea of like minimalism. Unfortunately, it did mean that I ended up throwing away a lot of things that I would regret throwing away, but I do kind of like the idea of, like I said, getting rid of things so that you can appreciate what you already have, right? I think that was kind of like the initial ideal of when I first got into it, of like, you're not just kind of like throwing away things flippantly. Sometimes people do it for necessity. It's like, I'm moving to a place that's smaller, so I legit can't have as many things as I have anymore. But I think there was also this idea of like, you're throwing things away because they don't serve you anymore, and you frankly just don't need them. But it was also so that like you can then appreciate what you do still have, right? Actually, I think this one can come up a little bit more. Yeah, that one can come up a little bit more. And then let me get another blade. With Rudo, his history is oh wait, is there spoilers? Is there spoilers before I read the rest of that? Because I haven't finished the anime yet, so if there's spoilers, I don't know how much of that comment I can read. Oh, episode 1. Okay. That was a live ender to people, and people treated him like, okay, yeah, they did imply that in the first episode. Since the apple doesn't fall far from the tree mentality, someone found him and treating like a human being, and he sees that in objects too. He doesn't see trash, he sees something that could be fixed and not something unusable. Yeah, that does go into like his whole mentality, because I got to the episode, like, this is spoilers for a little bit later in the series, like I want to say like episodes like 7 or 8 or something like that. There's a scene where he's a child and he sees like someone from like the rich part of the sphere throwing away something else, right? I forgot what it is that he sees like being thrown away, but he like goes over to the object, picks it up, and starts crying. And he says something like, "It's still good, like it's still being used, so why do people throw these away?" And I remember that moment kind of like hit hard, because it's like, yeah, like that's where it kind of solidifies like his relationship to objects, but also like his own personal history. Like he's probably crying because that's how he felt about himself. That like it's like he as a person is still good. Like he as a child is still good. Like why do people abandon him, like stuff like that. I can't get the blade out of this thing. All right, give me a second. I'm trying to like remove the blade without like cutting my fingers open. Come on. Okay. That's the only thing with this hook, is that it has more like I don't know, has more blades available to it, but it's like kind of hard to get the blade out. Oh my gosh. Why? Why is it so hard to take the blade out? It gets worse. So I'm up to episode, I want to say 20. So I'm actually almost done with the first season of the anime. We're at the point, without too many spoilers, I'm at the point where they're fighting a team. One team is fighting another team. I think that's as like as vague as I can give without spoiling it for people that haven't seen it yet. So there's basically a bunch of like concurrent battles happening. We got to a pretty funny part too, where like it's not like intentionally funny. It's like one of those like funny if you think about like the world building. How about this? I do have the spoiler toggle. So for those of you who still want to watch Gachi Akuta, I'm gonna put the spoiler pudding on my head. What if you see the pudding is on my head? I'm still talking about Gachi Akuta spoilers up until around like episode 20 of the anime. All right, so you can mute me until you don't see the pudding anymore. All right, so pudding is on. Pudding is on. We're talking about spoilers. Spoilers up to episode 20. So unmute once you don't see the pudding anymore. Okay, so we got to the part where like Rio, the girl character with like the red hair, she's like fighting against the other woman with like the electricity powers, and she eventually like she can't defeat her with like her normal weapon, so she just takes out a gun and shoots her. And I thought that was so funny because like at first me and Beans were like, oh, is that her other vital instrument? And then I made this joke of like, no, it's not a vital instrument, that's just a gun. And it turned out to be true. Like it wasn't a vital instrument at all. It was just a gun. And it's kind of like, can you imagine that happening in any other anime with like some kind of magic system? It's like, can you imagine Naruto where it's just like, you know what? I can't defeat you with the kunais anymore. Like I can't defeat you with my jutsu, my fire jutsu. So I'm just gonna shoot you. Yeah, exactly. It was like, I'm just gonna disturb the power system. I don't care. Like she just takes out a gun and shoots her opponent. And it wasn't even like played for laughs. That was not. I don't think that was meant to be a comedic moment. Like I think that was supposed to be like an F the audience. Like I don't care about the power system. I have a gun. Like, and this is like one of the heroes of the story. That was just so good. So yeah, no more spoiler pudding after this. Just like JJK0, if you know. I kind of barely remember JJK0. Yeah, that's with that's with Gojo and his like friend Suguru? Geto, right? Right? But yeah, spoiler over. I just thought that was so funny. It's like I don't care about your magic system. Okay, let me get a U-shaped blade. No, actually V-shaped blade should work fine with this. But yeah, Gachiakuta has been a fun romp. I think we're almost done with the anime because I think there's 24 episodes so far. I think it's just one season that's out so far, right? Alright, doing my usual thing, cut away the edges first. Ah! Darn it. There we go. There we go. And then let me get the edges around. So I could just do the contours, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut inside. Because it just makes more sense with the shapes that we're seeing with this one. There we go. Also, physical English manga is behind anime since volume-wise English is on 9 while the anime is adapting 10 and 11 ahead. Yeah, a coworker of mine who's a fellow weeb, she was telling me that she liked the anime so much that she ended up just catching up to the manga. It's actually been a while since I've done that. I feel like with Juju, with anime in general, I did used to, like, once I caught up to the anime, I would start reading the manga. But then I stopped doing that with Juju, and then there was something else. Hell's Paradise, which me and Beans liked a lot. Oh, what else? There was like another one where Jujutsu Kaisen. What was like another like really popular anime? Like, oh, My Hero. I usually like what. I'm trying to remember now. Like with My Hero, I decided not to catch up on the manga. Because I wanted to just be, like, going in fresh, right? But back in, like, the 2010s, I would never do that. I was, like, very much like a... How do I say this? Like, I wanted to be ahead of the game, you know? I was always that person that was, like... I think I was very annoying during, like, my younger 20s, where I was the person that's like, oh, don't get too attached to that character. You know, not being slick at all. With like, oh, I read the manga and I know that character freaking dies, you know? And then it was like the depths of 4chan that made me reconsider a lot of things in my life. It was the fear of one day becoming a lol cow that made me try to humble myself. Ah, dang it. But I have considered, let's see, reading the manga to Witch Hat Atelier. I know that one's getting a manga, or sorry, it's getting an anime soon, right? I might need a smaller blade. Oh, you know what? I could just cut this away. There we go. Cut away that. And let me cut away this part. Funny thing is, every time I pick up a new manga, it gets an adaptation later, but I'm over here waiting for the anime adaptation of Crossplay Love Otaku X Punk. Like, come on, this series needs an anime, but Rent a Girlfriend gets another season. Oh, what is that with me? Oyasumi Poon Poon. There's a series that I adore called like Oyasumi Poon Poon, but in retrospect, I kind of see why it's not getting an adaptation, at least not anytime soon, unless it's been announced. I think I remember... No, not Oyasumi Poon Poon. Historie. There's one of my favorite historical manga is one called Historie. Like it's spelled like history, but like IE instead of Y. And it's about one of Alexander the Great's generals, and it's made by the same guy who did Parasite. And oh, what else did he make? He made other things, but like Parasite is like why he's like really really well known for. But yeah, it's like a historical drama. And you actually don't see Alexander the Great until like much later in the series, but like it's about like one of his like generals basically. Eumenes. I read this all the way back in like the 2010s, and I've been waiting for like an anime adaptation for it, and I think it finally got announced. But another one that I like would like to see is Oyasumi Poon Poon. God darn it. Gosh darn it. Something is stuck in here. But yeah, if you guys don't know Oyasumi Poon Poon, it's definitely one of those like kind of seinen, like kind of darker because it's like slice of life, and I usually don't like slice of life, but it's like almost like psychological thriller horror, not horror, but like it's like the dark side of like, of slice of life. It's kind of like the Dark Souls of slice of life. Gosh, that didn't even feel good to say. It's one of those like it's slice of life, but it's like the slice of life of someone who's like been through it, you know? But I really liked it. Like it like did go over a lot of themes that I feel like weren't that common in popular manga back in the day. Like even if they were in manga, they weren't like I don't know, as like or at least I didn't see them. Like I didn't see them back in the day. Let's see, where else do I need to cut? Oopsie. I think I need to be a little bit more shallow with these cuts. I've been hearing many things about Rent a Girlfriend. Like, how like one of the characters is like an author insert character. Also, didn't Gachi Akuta do that too? Like the author of Gachi Akuta, who has awesome style by the way. Like there's a character that looks very much like her. Ooh, I like how this song sounds. Who sings this? Atin ang Sunkissed Lola. Oh, I've heard some of her like other songs before. It's funny, I've never heard a Filipino whose name is Lola because Lola in Tagalog means grandma. Like, unless that's the intent. Maybe her name isn't really Lola, but maybe her name is supposed to her like singing name is supposed to be like a reference to like grandmas. It's a real struggle even for some older like where is season 2 of Kiss Him Not Me? Ma'am, I think it's supposed to be grandma. Sun kissed Lola. It's grandma. It's my Lola. It's grandma. I like the sound though. It's like kind of jazzy, but oh, I think I cut in too much. It's okay. Let's put some pigment on this so I can see where else I need to cut. Yeah, right? It has city pop vibes. I'm down to listen to more of this artist. Let me go direct to her Spotify page. Okay, let's put some pigment on this thing. Ah, okay. It's starting to pop out where I need to like do more cuts. The thing is, this ink pad is pretty old, so like I think it's run out of juice. Okay, doke. Lola. I play this playlist. There we go. Okay, I'm trying to remember like what else. Oh, give me a second. Everyone say bye, Beans.
Bye, chat.
Beans gotta go do some errands. Actually, before I start the background, let me cut inside here. Mega Bronson says bye.
Bye, Bronson.
Actually, how do I do this? Let's do this part first. There we go. Trying to remember like what other anime I was watching back in the day. Or manga that like needs a little bit more like an anime adaptation. The one thing though is that like, you know, growing up, you always just assume that like an anime adaptation of any manga would be a good thing. But sometimes that's not the case. Cause what if your favorite anime gets a really bad adaptation? Sometimes I think about that. What's that like Twitter threat where it's like, you know, don't like forget about F you. You should say stuff like, I hope your favorite manga gets a terrible anime adaptation. It's possible. It happened to me. Because there are a few of my favorite anime that, or sorry, a few of my favorite like, I guess IPs, for example, that didn't get great anime adaptation. And it's like, oh man, if only we could turn back the clock. The main example for me is Umineko. 7 Deadly Frames. Yeah, I feel bad for like all the people that were like fans of, I forgot to actually like stamp this, that were fans of 7 Deadly Sins. 1 frame man, exactly. Exactly. For me, it's Umineko is like the main contender. So if you're not familiar with Umineko, it is made by the same guy that did Higurashi, When the Cicadas Cry. And it's like a murder mystery, but it has a lot of like just really good scenes. It has a really good theme of just like, I guess like believing other people's points of view, stuff like that. But it's also under the, it's packaged in the guise of a murder mystery / supernatural fantasy. It's one of my favorite series ever, and it started out as a visual novel, but it's been adapted into Be Smiley. Hello. Thank you for the raid. How you guys doing? Welcome, welcome everyone. My name's Babinka Bear. I'm your local Sun Bear art history teacher and educational streamer. And today we are making some rubber stamps out of Maya glyphs. So hello. How you guys doing? How was your stream? You were doing special events. Ooh, what were you guys doing? We were talking about anime before you guys raided in, so we might yap about that as well while we're carving. But let me see. Berry Leche, hello. Smile, it's a raid. Roll for initiative. Oh, roll for initiative. I don't have my dice. Be Smiley, hello! Smile, it's a raid! Roll for initiative! All your emotes are so cute. Knob Knob, hello! Smile, it's a raid, roll for initiative! You love this? Cool, cool, cool. We're doing a Is B Smarter Than a 5th Grader test that a friend of mine made, so we did so well, nice! Let's go, you guys are smarter than 5th graders. Well, you guys are in luck because you guys have raided into a classroom. I know right now it looks like a rather surrealist classroom, but this is, I do like to teach about art history and whatever my hyperfixation is for the month. A couple weeks ago, we were talking a lot about dinosaurs. And now, what's my current hyperfixation? Oh, we were going into, like, should we trash our smartphone in order to have a dumb phone? But yeah, feel free to join in on the conversation. We were just talking about anime and anime adaptations right before you guys raided in, while doing our little carving. If you guys have to, if both you and your raiders have to raid and run, no worries at all. I totally get it. Streaming can be pretty tiring. I'm actually at the tail end myself. I think once we're done with this stamp, we're probably going to go ahead and call it ourselves. But that's still probably like 30, 45 minutes from now. But yeah, if you want to stay behind, we're yapping about like anime adaptations and how like usually the desire is to get an anime adaptation of your favorite manga or light novel or what have you. But we were talking about like, oh, but what happens if you get like a bad anime adaptation? And chat did bring up a good point of Seven Deadly Sins, One Punch Man. I was talking about one of my favorite light novels, which is Umineko no Nakukoro ni. And Knob Knob, thank you for joining the class. Glad to see you here. But yeah, Umineko is a light novel. It's like a story about like appreciating other people's perspectives, but wrapped up in a package of gory detective like mysteries and supernatural horror thriller, but it does have like a good message. It's made by the same guy that made Higurashi, which is known for its like extreme gore, but it actually does have like this message of like hope in the face of like ultimate despair and stuff like that. So Overwatch anime, please. Actually, doesn't it have like a couple of shorts, right? Doesn't it kind of like have some material related to it and stuff like that? I'll be back. It's really sunny here today and I want to enjoy that. Yeah, enjoy the sun. Get your vitamin, is it C or D? Get your vitamins, whichever one the sun gives us. And Very Leche, thank you for joining the class. Heck yeah, I'm happy we're bringing more lore to Overwatch. The rumors are getting stronger. Oh, for these nuts. Oh my gosh. Mods, ban that mod. Ban him. Yeah, like I was thinking of Umineko, but there was another one. Oh, So I'm a Spider, So What? That's one of my favorite isekai. I'm currently reading I'm actually listening to the audiobook for the light novel right now. And like, man, I like it so much. It has such a like satisfying trajectory of just like a character leveling up and like being able to evolve into other like creatures, because they started as like a weak little spider, but then they turn into like a strong spider. And there's just something that just like itches my brain so good, like in a very satisfying way. Maybe because I'm also very, if you guys are not regulars here, you'll learn very quickly that I love Digimon. Digimon has been my hyperfixation since 1999 onward. So an isekai where like not only is the protagonist not just like a generic self-insert like dude who has like all these hacksaws powers, elite hacksaws powers, it's just a little spider. It's just a little spider that is struggling to levels up and becomes big strong spider. And fun fact, it actually did cure me of my arachnophobia. I'm not as scared of spiders as I used to be, not even tarantulas. But the anime adaptation it got, man, that was rough. It actually started out pretty promising. Because I watched it actually got me into the manga and into the light novel. And then once I read the light novel, it was like, oh, actually the adaptation kind of skipped over a lot of things. And then the animation is pretty good for some of the fight scenes. But then once you get to like the last few episodes, it's like, what happened? Like, what happened? What happened to the animation? They're like, you could see so many like corners being cut, and it's like it doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good. I just remembered another Tokyo Ghoul season 2 or Root or thing that was horrible. Oh yeah, because they didn't even like adapt the manga, right? Like they just kind of went into their own story with that one. I think I heard about that. I never finished the manga for Tokyo Ghoul. I did finish the oh no, I got to like second to last season of the anime because a friend of mine was like, "Oh, let's watch the last season together." So I caught up, and then when it came time for us to watch together, because I don't drive and she lives kind of far away, she was like, I don't know if I want to come all the way down to your location to just to watch it. And it's like, well, what happened? I thought we were gonna watch it together. And this was before, like, I guess pandemic times where people could just watch things together on like Discord. But yeah, I do remember like wanting to watch it with her, and she was like, but you're kind of far away. And it's like, then why did you recommend that to me then? Okay. Dire Storm, hello, welcome. When the plot arrives for Spider, it goes real quick. Yeah, It goes wild real quick. Yeah, exactly. I'm up to, in the light novel, I'm up to volume 10 right now, but I'm listening to the audiobook, so it takes about, like, 5 to 7 hours to, like, finish a single volume. So I feel like I only listen to it during my work commutes, which is only, like, twice a week, so I feel like I'm not gonna finish until like at least 2 months from now, but I am enjoying it a lot. But seriously, the sun gives vitamin D, and I remember because D is nuts. I watched the anime first and it was cool, and then I read the manga and I got so mad watching the anime again. Same. Cause like even the manga is like, I mean, yeah, the manga is kind of like a better adaptation. Same with Umineko, actually. The anime adaptation for Umineko is not good, like, at all. It just cuts out so much. It kind of, like, focuses more on, like, the horror and gore. Which, like, that is kind of, like, a part of, like, the story, too. But it just... It didn't even look good. It didn't even look good. But yeah, with, like, the Spider Isekai anime, I like the anime, read the manga, rewatched the anime, and was like, what the heck is this? Like... They skipped over so much. They skipped over so much of like the main character's like development too. And there are times where just like the tone is like a complete mismatch. Like there's a part where like the spider, like the protagonist, she like encounters a really strong opponent. She encounters like a really strong dragon essentially. And she knows that if she were to fight it, she would die. And like, you know, this isn't like, oh, if I die in a video game, it's okay, I can just respawn. It's like, if you die for real. So she feels like this utmost like terror when she encounters this dragon, because it's like, I can't escape, and like I will die if I like try to fight him. So she just hides. And the tone of the manga does it so much better because you can really feel how terrified she is. And the cool thing about like Spider Isekai 2 is that like they live in this like game system type world where it's like the more you try to improve an ability, you'll get this little like video game voice in your head that's like, oh, like you have leveled up your resistance. And like as she's hiding and she's terrified, she hears the voice saying like, fear resistance level 1 has evolved into fear resistance level 2. Fear resistance level 2 has evolved into fear resistance level 3. And it's like she's so scared that she's actively leveling up her, like, yeah, the RPG mechanics, yeah. Like she's so terrified, but she's also like accidentally leveling up her like resistance to that fear. And it was just like a cool like way to incorporate that. But also, like I said, I think the manga does a really good job of like showing like how scared she was. The way that the audiobook is read, it kind of like doesn't have that same feeling, but I don't even remember if that was like in the anime. And if it was, I feel like it might have just been played for laughs of like, oh no, a dragon! Dragon needs nuts. I just remembered something anime doesn't do as much. When you read the manga, it at times has a little lighthearted skit to flesh out the character dynamics. Season 1 of the anime adapts those, which is cool, but then they drop it when it comes to season 2. Yeah. I did like the openings and endings to the anime for Spider Isekai, though. I remember I did like that. Oh, let me throw away the shavings for this. Actually, I do need to take a little water break, so I do want to show you guys the I think, was it the ending that I liked from Spider Isekai? So I'm a spider, so I'm a spider, so what? Was it it was either, I think it was the opening that I liked a lot. Go watch that while I hydrate. And the ending theme, that was also really good. So, yeah, let's watch the openings while I have a little bit of a water break. Oh no, I didn't mean to make it that big. So yeah, the anime does cut out a lot of things. Like I said, it's enjoyable. Like what me and Fugubi said, it's enjoyable by itself if that's the first thing that you're seeing out of this anime. But then when you like read the light novel or the manga and then you watch it again, it's like, oh, they skipped over a lot. They skipped over like a lot of like kind of important like developments with the character. But to give them props, I do like how they did like the 3D models for a lot of the characters, especially for Kumoko, which is the spider protagonist. Fun fact, this is the same studio that did the Berserk anime, the bad one. The one with the really janky 3D models. This was the studio, and this was kind of like it felt like they kind of redeemed themselves because they did a pretty decent job with like the 3D models in this one. But then by the end of the first season, I think it's like the first season or the second season, I forget. Or I think it's like the second core of the first season. You could tell it's like, did they run out of budget or something? Because these shots are terrible. So like I don't know what's up with that studio, but like at first it was like pretty promising, but then like as you get to like the end of it, it's like, ooh, this looks kind of rough. But the openings and endings are pretty good. The one thing with the story is that it splits into like focusing on the spider and then focusing on like human characters, and the human stuff is so boring. Like I could not care less about like the human parts of the story. It's like it got to the point where I was skipping all the scenes with the human characters in order to focus more on the spider. Like and then even it's a little better in the manga. No, actually the manga doesn't even cover the human characters. But the light novel does cover the human characters, and that does help because you get a little bit more of like their thought process and stuff. But in the anime, I was not paying attention to any of these characters. Like I did not give a crap about them. And I was just more of like, I don't care. I want to see the spider level up and become a stronger spider. Jank Berserk was one of those animes that broke my heart too as a fan of the 90s one. Yeah, this was the studio. This is who you should blame for that. Also, Binka, I agree with you about Spider Isekai. I could not care for the human side. I wanted more of the monsters MC. Yeah, because her evolution and her leveling up was so satisfying because like you saw her kind of like strategizing on like the best way to level up or the best way to like get XP and stuff, and it was just so cool. And then it would cut to like some kind of like royal family courtroom drama, and it was like, I don't care. I don't care. Something that gets funnier every time with isekai anime is you see a long title and think they can't top this, and then you see reincarnated as a vending machine or a sword, and it's like, what the F? Exactly. So, for the second theme, where's the second opening? There was a second opening, right? And I do know we have an ad break coming up. Let's do OP2. So how about this? Or was that already Oh, I think it was. Oh, this is the opening. This is the second opening. Okay. Let's go ahead and put you guys over in recess. It's also confusing because of the time gap between the spider leveling and the human activity. I think that's okay because I think it was set up to be a reveal, right? Like you think that they're happening concurrently, but then it's revealed. Oh, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. It's like revealed later on that like it's not. And I did think that was a cool gimmick. I do think that was a cool gimmick. But I could get why it's also like kind of confusing in that way. So we do have an ad break. I usually take a break during this time as well. So I'll see you guys in about 3 minutes. If you're subscribed, then you just have fun in recess. I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Okay, we're back. We are back. I was doing a little bit of carving during the ad break. Also got my... I didn't do my squats. It's okay. I'll do 10 squats after stream. I'll do 10 squats after stream. I hope you guys enjoyed your recess. Let's watch the second opening. Let's watch the second opening of Spider Isekai. And then we'll finish up with our carving. We're actually almost done. But like I said, I like the openings. As much as I'm critiquing the anime itself, I do like the openings, so. There's the hero that I don't care about. Okay, so the plot of Spider Isekai. The plot of Spider Isekai, as I put my webcam back on, there we go, is that basically an entire class of like students in Japan like were essentially killed. But it was by like a mysterious like explosion, and every single student in that classroom was reborn in this like fantasy world. But not all of them were reborn as humans. Some of them were, and that's like the plotline that I said like I don't really care for at all. But some of them were also reborn as like the main character is reborn as a spider. And then another character is like reborn as a dragon. There's a character who's reborn as like a goblin. I'm trying to remember some other ones. Oh, like one of them like was reborn as like a vampire. But a lot of them, like a good majority of them, are born as like humans. So, and they're like reborn as like babies, you know. So they still like, you know, they still have to go through their usual development while also learning a new language and like getting used to the fact that there's a new world. And they still retain their memories of like being in Japan even. And then some of them are like even like gamer savvy, so they even recognize that like, oh, this world runs on like RPG mechanics essentially. Because yeah, there's like this thing of like there's a voice in everyone's head that like tells them when they've like leveled up a skill. And like it's funny because there's even like I got to the point in one of the light novels where you meet like a butler and he's talking about like, oh yeah, I learned all these skills that are useful to be like a butler, including I think it's called like exhaustion nullification, because like a lot of skills start out as like for example, like if you think of like Pokemon, there's like paralysis, poison, sleep, ice, blah blah blah, all these status effects, and you can develop like a resistance to them if you're exposed to them to long enough. So like if you expose yourself to like poison enough, you can get poison resistance and stuff like that. And then eventually you can also get poison nullification, where you're not affected by poison anymore. So you in this world you can also get like exhaustion resistance and nullification, meaning that you don't have to sleep. So like one of the butler characters is like, oh yeah, I have like exhaustion nullification, so I don't need to sleep, so this is when I do all the housework. So I just think that it was like really cool world building too, because like that's also like, oh, how do regular people in this world like use this like mechanic, you know? Rather than like how does like a spider monster use it? Was at a card shop with a friend and she picked up the plush of that spider and she was like, look how cute, I got over my arachnophobia because of microdosing shrooms. And I was like, well, my friend got over her arachnophobia because of that anime. That's so funny. Like, it's just like, whoa, you. I mean, good that you got over your arachnophobia, but it's like, whoa, from microdosing shrooms is crazy. Exhaustion nullification is enviably OP, right? Then you don't need to sleep anymore, and you don't have like the negative effects of not having sleep. You could just get stuff done while everyone else is sleeping, you know? But it's cool because, like, I think that's like a way to know that you have effective world building in a piece of fiction is to like imagine what regular people are using that for, and like if you were in this universe, what would you use that for? You know, like what kind of skills would you want to build up? Right? Like, do you think for me there'd be like a like you've leveled up in teaching skills, you've leveled up in like child like meme exhaustion? I don't know. You have a resistance to children making fun of you, or like you have a resistance to like, you know, children trying to give you like the puppy dog eyes when they don't do their homework. You know, you have insult nullification. You have 6-7 nullification. Like first I have like 6-7 resistance, and then I evolve like 6-7 nullification. But as soon as I do, the kids come up with a new meme. They come up with a new meme. That's how, you know, that's what happens. So you can't affect me, students. You can't affect me with your silly memes. But then what they do is they evolve a new meme. I'm trying to remember what the like voice, the RPG voice says. It says something like there's like the leveling up, but then there's also the requirements have been met. You now have the skill teaching, or something like that. All right, trying to get this like last detail off. They also did the anime reincarnated as a dragon hatching. It's a pretty good series since I started watching it from the manga, but it actually started from a light novel. Okay. My inner voice. You've received D's. You have developed D's nuts immunity. Nullification. Alright, I think we're pretty much done. Let me go ahead and test out the stamp and see what we got here. Or like for art history, would it be like, you have achieved the skill art analysis, you know? But I guess what about skills where you just like, it's kind of like a seesaw of like, because I feel like with art, for example, you could like get better at it, but then like I guess like would it be certain Soten Vori, hello, thank you for the 13 months. 13 months with my favorite bear. Aw, thank you. We're talking about this anime that started out as a light novel called Spider So I'm a Spider, So What? But I just shortened it to Spider Isekai. And like they have this system of like, you know, you have like an RPG voice in your head telling you that you've like developed like a certain skill. So like if you're getting good at art, is it like you have reached level 1 art, you know? Or would it be broken down into things of like you have reached level 1 drawing, and you still have to like level up your painting skills and your carving skills and your like color theory skills? Oh man, maybe that's like a video game. That's like a video game idea, huh? Of like, you have achieved level 1 line art, or level 1 sketching, level 2 line art, level 3 color theory, you know? Can you imagine like a voice in your head activating every time you like get good at a skill? Like if you're like into bass. Oh, I realized that there's no music playing. You have achieved level 1 dribbling. In order to achieve level 2 basketball. You know what? I think Spider Isekai does do that. Like they sometimes have like mini skills that get lumped into like bigger skills. That sounds pretty neat, right? Doesn't it? So it's like in order to like if you get really good at like color theory, line art, shading, then you achieve like level 1 art mastery, right? And then once you get like level 10 art mastery, it evolves into like, you know, level 3 masterpiece, you know. But I feel like you could convert this to other things too, like, well, on like a slightly more serious note, I think that is a good way to think of like our hobbies as well, because I was thinking one time about how like when I was younger, I don't know if I've shared this before, but I haven't actually I didn't start my art journey, my journey to like get into like the visual arts until I was around like my late 20s. Like I took some art classes in my early 20s because my major was graphic design at the time, but I never considered myself like good at drawing or good at like sketching or anything like that up until like my later 20s, where I felt a little bit more confident in like delving into that. But I do remember I was doing things like making anime PFPs for people. So I would get like an anime screen cap and I would crop it a certain way and I would add like Photoshop effects to it. So like I would like up the saturation or I would up the like contrast and stuff like that. And I would make like PFPs for people, and that was just like a hobby, right? But I think doing stuff like that does help with things like composition, like knowing how to crop something so that it has like a really appealing composition, knowing to up the brightness or the saturation on something so that it doesn't look all muddy, right? Or like desaturated. So that helps with your understanding of like light and color theory, right? So if we like, for example, had a system like that where it's like, oh, you have leveled up composition, and it's just like you're just effing around with like cropping a picture, right? I think that would maybe like empower more people to notice that like you are actually improving on like certain skills. Because I feel like there are ways that you can translate a lot of hobbies and like just things that we do for fun into skills that can like come in handy in the future, right? Like I said, like making anime PFPs does improve your composition and your understanding of like light and color. And I think a lot of like sometimes people do projects for VTubers or streamers for their birthdays, and that improves on like your ability to work in a team or in a group, right? I'm trying to think of like other examples of this. Like, even if you play video games all day, I feel like even if you play like shooty games, like FPS or like hero shooters or something like that, I feel like that helps with like your hand-eye coordination in a way, right? And also communication. If you're playing a game like Overwatch, like I'm just saying this because I know like Beans and Mega Bronson play Overwatch, but like, doesn't that also kind of improve on your like communication skills, your group skills, stuff like that? Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of soft skills that people don't realize like can actually really come in handy with things like not even just like in the capitalist consumerist like POV of like, oh, I want like employable skills. It's just like skills that are good to have, you know. Sounds you have leveled up imagination, now level up drawing skill to draw what you imagine. Yeah, that's the hard part, right? Does it help with our communication and team skills? Yeah, I've heard some of the struggles before. I've heard some of the struggles that y'all have. Where it's like, does it really level it up? Or are we just getting worse? Well, if it makes you feel better, from what I hear, you guys are pretty solid. But sometimes it's like rolling the dice with what kind of team you're working with, right? Okay, let me just ink this up. Let's see what we got here. And I think we'll probably call it after this. We went a good 3 hours, right? So in that case, let me also make sure that we can't get any incoming raids. Did Eros tell you that? He's lying, I'm sure. No. He didn't tell me anything. This is just going off of like, I feel like I've just heard that like you and Beans are pretty good at what you guys do, right? Okay, cool. That came out pretty good. The only thing is that this does look like a penis. So like this little part here that looks like a little peanuts and balls, you know? Oh, but then again, the glyph is this way. I am doing it upside down now that I realize it. So I might still like sharpen these up. I might sharpen up the shapes off stream, but we did a pretty good job. We did 2 stamps today. One for color yellow, this is Kan, and this is one for blue-green, which is Yash. It looks like a chubby face. Oh, you know what? I can kind of see that. I can kind of see it. But yeah, this was fun. These are always fun to do. I might do more lino cut stamps in the future, but I think next week I might do Posca markers. It's been a while since I've done Posca marker art, and I kind of want to get back into it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you for the conversations and such. Oh, you know what? I have the perfect moshing music for us. It's gonna be more spider isekai, but it's the ending theme because I really like the ending theme. Yeah, I know what we're moshing to. All right, let me just put my tools away so I don't accidentally like cut myself on like a blade or anything like that. But yeah, we have our 2 stamps, and I had a lot of fun yapping with you guys. So let me just get this blade off. There we go. So I'm gonna chill for a bit, and then actually I got some gaming sessions with couple of fellow VTubers. It's not gonna be streamed. It's just like a for funsies thing. But we're gonna be playing Left 4 Dead 2 tonight. It's been a minute since I played Left 4 Dead. I don't even remember if I played Left 4 Dead 2. But anyway, let's put away the webcam. Actually, I'm gonna turn off the webcam. Deactivate. Turn that off. We're gonna mosh to the second ending of Spider Isekai because I remember I liked it a lot. So let me go ahead and cut off the music. For those of you who are new students here at the classroom, we have an end of stream tradition, which is our mosh pit. When you hear the music, go ahead and spam your favorite emotes in the chat, and I'm gonna make your little avatars fight each other. There's no correlation between who spams the most emotes and who wins the mosh pit. It's RNG and it's not rigged. So once you hear the music, get to moshing. It's very moshable too. Whoa. Mr. Pancakes, what's up? Oh no, why is he frozen? Mr. Pancakes? Mr. Pancakes! Oh no! He got shy. Wait, why isn't it working? Uh-oh. Oh, Sammy got disconnected. Okay, it's back to being connected. Let's run that again. Test channel points. Here, I'll run it for you. I broke him. No, I don't think it was you. Let me run it again. Mr. Pancakes, Mr. Pancakes. Where's Mr. Pancakes? Oh no, okay. Give me a second, give me a second. I can activate him again. Pancake speaks. Open up the pit. There we go. Oh, it's still not working! Oh no! He got shy. And Glockenspiel survived the mosh pit. Sorry about the delay. I don't know what's going on with him. We'll hide him for now. we'll hide him for now. Unless we want him just like smack dab in the middle. It's okay, skip it. I'll refund your points though. Just trying to remember how to make him disappear. There you go. And we'll put him back here. He got shy. He's in the pit. He's in the pit. Alright, well let's reset. Let's reset. I told ya. I told ya. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Alright guys, that's the last stream of the week. I'll see you guys probably on Monday. We might do just chatting or we might do art. I want to do some MS Paint art. Oh, mod! Aw, oh, jeez. Oh no. We're gonna do some MS Paint art on Monday and then we'll see from there. We'll see from there. We're gonna go ahead and raid into Millennial Idol. So she's a regular here and she's currently playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It looks pretty fun. So I'll see you guys next week. We're gonna raid. I hope you guys have a good morning, afternoon, and evening, and as always, I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Let me go ahead and copy the raid message. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye! We raid.